probably like the midnight time frame until early in the morning the next, till noon the next day. And then we just happened to go. And if you think about it, I laugh at, if there was some little green man flying around in that Tic Tac, he probably got back to the mothership and got yelled at for being seen. But you're like, oh my God, you let him see you. So.
Yo, Lila. What up, though? Let's see. Just gonna get this stuff going. How you sent me a message? You got mushrooms? You got mushrooms, girl? You gotta watch those mushrooms. Those shits will fuck you up. Those shits will fuck you up. Post that. Post. Share on Twitter. So you guys want to see something really cool? You guys want to see something really cool that I've been working on? So this is for Twitch. Check it out. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So I can make this GIF whatever I want. Literally whatever I desire. I can make that little zombie do anything or put anything there. So this will be for Twitch when I start doing that. But I wanted to get like the fun stuff out of the way first. Let me switch the... okay, there we go. Switch the view. All right. Are you guys... I gotta know. Are you guys tired of Sam Cedar destroying libertarians yet? I just gotta know. Because we're probably still going to do it, but I'm just curious as to what you guys are feeling. Because for me, it's pretty entertaining, but, just curious of what the audience thinks. Let's see. Let me get... Let me find... Oh, it scared you? My bad. The noise did, or the little zombie dude? Rawr. Rawr, come to me. Where is it? YouTube music. Sam Cedar. Okay, let's decide which one. You can never get tired of Sam? Alright, cool. Just curious. What is this debating? Debating Paul Ryan's budget with a right-wing talker. Let's see. The noise and the zombie? My bad. I'll give you a heads up next time.
On the phone, it's...
Alright, let's watch this. And then after this... All right. After that, we'll figure it out. But we shall continue this now.
Pleasure to welcome to the program Malcolm Out Loud from malcolmoutloud.tv and author of the Out Loud Minute, which plays on 700 stations across the country on a daily basis. Welcome to the program, Malcolm.
Good to be with you, bud.
So I'm very curious. I want to start off with this Paul Ryan pick. I want to ask you, let's start here. Paul Ryan is very closely associated, of course, with the Ryan Plan, which proposes a tremendous amount, from my perspective, of cuts, and I think by anybody's perspective, of cuts, particularly to social programs. How do you think this is going to factor into the campaign over the next couple of months?
Well, it certainly is going to play into the extreme factor of Obama's campaign of class warfare, that's for sure, of extremes, the haves and have-nots. Listen, that budget, I mean, that's, you know, the Democrats are going to obviously want to talk about that for lots of reasons. But, you know, it's not realistic. There needs to be a middle ground, and both of these parties need to understand that. There has to be a middle ground. The Ryan Plan is not the plan that, you know, was enacted. It wasn't approved. We know that. And, you know, but it's substance in that plan. There has to be this balance of, you know, cutbacks, being serious in this country. That's what Americans are looking for, is the difficult decisions our politicians need to make. And until that happens, I think we're going to continue to have nothing but challenges in this country. But, you know, Ryan's got some good ideas. It's just not going to be as extreme as maybe he thought it might be back when he enacted that plan or put that plan forth, you know?
Well, now give me a sense of, like, when you say get serious, what does that mean? I mean, what ideas of Paul Ryan's are good ideas?
Well, you know, you have to remember, there's
Troll away,
we're in this sort of extreme. You know, this, when I say an extremist mode, the position we have our country in right now economically is devastating. When you look at the deficit and the position of our country long term, it's devastating. This causes, you know, this calls for extreme measures. That, I think, is what fuels things like when you say the Ryan Plan, and when you see plans like this coming forth. Do I think that plan was extreme? Probably. You know, again, I'm saying there needs to be a balance. We need to have serious cutbacks.
Where would you cut? Where do you think we need cuts?
I think we need to go in and cut, I think, across the board, everything, all entitlement programs, everything.
So you would cut Social Security, Medicare,
everything. Everything needs to be looked at. Everything with a capital E. We're bankrupt. We have no money.
Well, wait a second.
Just like you would do if you're a business, you have to go and look at your plan.
Wait a second. Wait. What do you mean by we're bankrupt? I mean, we have marginal tax rates at the lowest levels they've been in 70 years. I mean, so
our debt to GDP ratio in September, for the first time since World War II, is in excess of 70%. We have a debt that is close to $17 trillion. We have, combined with Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, in excess of $200 trillion in debt. I would say that's bankrupt, my friend. The only thing we haven't done is file the paperwork at the courthouse.
Malcolm, $200 trillion of debt in Medicare and Social Security? I don't understand programs.
Well, I mean,
people pay into taxes. People pay into taxes into Social Security. People pay in taxes to Medicare. You're just looking at the side of the ledger that says how much we've got to pay out, but you're not looking at the side of the ledger that says how much comes in.
We're in a very, very dangerous region, I believe, and I believe this program that we think that Democrats think we can just turn the other way and not pay attention, I think is reckless at best. I don't really understand where this mentality comes from. We've never had this attitude in this country that it doesn't really matter. We'll leave the next generation worse off than we were. We've never had that attitude in this country. We took care of the next generation.
So
this is the first generation.
Whose tax rates would you go back to? I mean, I presume you're talking about there would be increases in taxes, right? I mean, if we're talking about having to close this deficit and debt, which, you know, the CBO projects that if we were to just go back to the Clinton tax rates, we would close the deficit within 70 years.
Well, there are going to be some very difficult decisions for the next administration, whoever it's going to be. I assure you of that. Whether it is Obama and Biden or Romney and Ryan, they're going to have to make the very difficult decisions if this country is going to be serious in moving forward with a vitality that we want, that we're encouraged to have, that business people.
Well, we're kind of seeing that already, right?
I think you take a look at. The programs and the entitlement programs and the expansion of government over these past 4 years. And it's been expensive.
Wait a second.
Do you disagree with that?
The expansion of government, I mean, it's true that there are far more people on food stamps now. That's because we've just gone through the greatest recession we've had since the Great Depression. I mean, so we have more poor people in this country. It's not that the programs have been expanded, it's that more people have become eligible for these programs because they're hurting. So do you would you cut children from Medicare? Would you
Hey, Murdoch, what's up, buddy?
Get into some of these specifics, because we have a guy who's proposed the privatization of Social Security, essentially the destruction of Medicare. If you want to add the qualifier as we know it, that's fine, I guess. I mean, but he's talking about privatizing it, leaving elderly people a substandard voucher to go and try and buy insurance on the private markets. There's barely any insurance available for people at that age, and for good reason. So I'm just curious, when we talk about these in these general terms about hard decisions and whatnot, I'm just curious as to what the specifics are.
Well, the same specifics that I believe got us in this position in the first place. I think we've created this society. We've created, there are 2 points to this that we continue to have rhetoric, and Republicans, Democrats love to talk about, what we're entitled to and what we're not entitled to. You're going to cut the children off. You're going to cut the
the first
elderly
thing?
off. This is sort of the scare tactic
always tomorrow.
of how we come down the road here.
Well,
and
but I mean, that's what it is.
Huge empire.
I mean, when we cut Medicare, that's what we're doing, right? I mean,
well, listen,
don't get too cocky yet, Miller.
We can't
still some stuff to do.
If you can tell me
Depends
how
on
we
the
can afford
candidates.
the current state, if you can tell me how we can afford the current programs, then I'd say terrific.
Go back to Clinton
let's
administration.
Continue them and expand them.
Go back to Clinton
What's
administration or even Reagan administration tax rates. I would raise the capital gains tax rates as well. And I would remove the cap from Social Security. You remove the cap from Social Security, that program is completely solvent until both of our grandkids are collecting insurance.
This program did not happen overnight. This program isn't. And let me say this to you: where we're at right now, when I say this program, where we sit right now in America, is not just a short-term problem, and it didn't happen just in the last 4 years. By the way, it's happened with both political parties, and it's happened over decades. And when you come back to you talk about the previous administrations, you're correct. Because, again, I think we've passed this thing down the road all too long. And I think our political system is in really need of a revamp. I mean, until Americans hold them accountable and really look at who we have in office, and are they making the tough decisions and doing the things we want them to do? We're not seeing that right now in Washington.
What constitutes a tough decision? I mean, is the tough decision you're talking about raising taxes on the wealthy or across the board?
Here's my
or
answer.
Is it cutting programs that literally keep elderly people out of poverty? And
here's the tough decision. Let me give it to you now. The tough decision is to balance the budget. The tough, like every state does, like every family does,
let me ask you a question.
like every business does.
Well, no, I understand. But, I mean, you don't think that the government functions like a family?
Well, listen, Everybody on the planet has to balance a budget except the United States federal government.
Well, actually,
Why do they
no.
get a pass?
In fact, most federal governments don't balance their budget. I mean, there's a very good argument to be made that if you were to actually get down to zero debt, it would crash the currency. But we don't have time to get into the specifics on that. But what is the problem with the deficit right now? What is it that is? I understand that it sounds very problematic, but I'm curious from your perspective, what is the problem with it?
You know, you just on the surface, if you take a look at the confidence that it erodes in the American public, and just take a look at the surface for a moment of this, and the sound bites of our indebtedness, that alone is dangerous and hazardous.
Well, no,
to
I
our
agree.
country.
That's why I'm questioning what's behind the sound bites. I mean, because you're talking
Well,
about.
I mean,
isn't
dollars
the
and cents
fear?
are behind.
Isn't the fear that that if we have too large of a debt, and obviously the deficit growing the debt, that nobody's going to loan us money? I mean, isn't that the fear that people are not going to see the country as an investment? And if that was
I
the
think
case,
that's already. Well, listen, I think, you know, in spite of these things, America is still the best investment.
right.
But
So
you know,
what's the problem?
But,
Negative territory. We actually make money when we borrow money at this point. If you include
Warren's not
inflation
bad,
in
but
that,
you know,
we
she
have
has
the
her
lowest
blind spots.
Treasury bond.
She's very
interest
wishy-washy.
rates
I don't
that we've
know.
had,
She says the right thing and she takes it back.
I don't know how many decades, and
I think,
we're
I
in a
think
position now to.
The insolvency of our mindset, and you know, just you know, everything. I mean, take a look at the credit bureaus that you're going to see. I mean, we're being threatened now. It's not just S&P. I mean, we're being, you know, between now and the end of the year, and between the general election, there's going to be some difficult.
Malcolm, did that credit rating affect our capacity to borrow?
Well, it's going to, my friend. You just see you can't keep taking it on and taking it on. You can get by for so long, but then you know you're not going to be able to pull it over at the end of the day. When you say it's not. It's how far you move the needle on the meter. I mean, how far you? Sure, the S&P negative rating. Maybe that wasn't as dramatic as maybe you thought it should have been, or someone else. But you know what? You start adding up the other factors that are going to play into this thing ahead, and I think you're going to find that we're going to have some serious problems if we don't make the difficult choices.
But
so
what
listen,
are those difficult choices? I mean,
we need to look at all entitlement programs, and we need, I mean, across the board.
Okay,
and,
look at
and
them
I think
and do what?
they need to be put in check to understand what can America afford. That's the question at the end of the day.
Right. So, and I mean, we can afford a lot more if we raise more revenue by taxing people more.
Well, we'll have to save that for another day. I have another interview here.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it. It's MalcolmOutloud.tv and author of the Out Loud Minute on 700 stations. Calling from
What I find find a way, like, or find like a method to like really talk to people about politics is just kind of get them to spew their ideology, like spew what they believe in, and then believe, like, you know, if someone is pro-life, and then bring up the fact, so okay, so you're pro-life, so you're against the death penalty, then like bring up stuff like that, kind of like test their ideology, test like what they're really saying, if they really believe it. That's kind of like I guess a better way to talk politics with people, because like, yes, there's people like my coworker I've mentioned, like they're very, very Republican, and they get very angry, like when you like when he even watches like CNN and they talk bad about Trump, he just gets super angry. So like that guy, I could be like subtly, I don't really, there's nothing there, because like he just, it's just anger. But like if you're talking to someone with a different ideology, like I feel like it's not that difficult if you go into it like with a mindset like, okay, my the goal here is not to change their mind. But the goal is just to have a discussion and really test if they really believe what they're saying, kind of thing. So I don't mind talking about people about politics. Obviously, if they disagree, like, that's fine. But it just depends on the person, personally. But that's just me. Like, you could just be like, yep, no politics. And I totally understand that. I totally agree with that. But if you really want to get to the meat of it, you know, that's kind of how I go about it. Opinions attacking Syria. Yeah, that's Turkey was like, we're on this right now. Like, that's shitty, man. That's and there's a lot of kids there too. Like, a lot of kids. Yeah, if they're not too far gone, but like, you're not gonna know unless you have a discussion with them. And if they get really upset, then, you know, just kind of like slowly exit the conversation or try to bring up something else. You know, personally. But I guess if they can't handle the fact that they're being challenged, like, I guess that kind of speaks to them. That means they are, I guess, in a way, too far gone, because they won't listen to, like, they won't even have a discussion about it. And even if you spew like different talking points, they're just be like, no, like, then that's shitty. But it's a person by person basis. So, yeah. All right, let's right-wing libertarian caller really likes gold.
An 862 number. Who's this?
Hey, what's going on? This is Ed from New Jersey.
Hi, Ed. How are you?
Okay, so what I wanted to know was, okay, so now you progressives and Democrats have a lot of ideas for how things should be, but what I always wanted to know.
I mean,
from
I
you
don't know
guys
about you generally, but I certainly do.
Yeah. I mean, that's just how it is. You know, it's a political philosophy that you guys have. But now let me ask you a question. Do you guys know the true meaning of what money is?
No.
Well,
No,
okay,
I don't.
so
Let me
now-
tell you why, Ed. I don't know the true meaning of money, because in the world that I live in, I pay for things just with goodwill.
Well, he has fascist remarks for other Hispanics, even though he's Hispanic. So he's a self-hating Hispanic? I'm confused. That's weird. That might be too far gone. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if you talked to your dad about politics.
When I go to the
Interesting.
store, when I have cable bill, or when I run this business, I pay. You know, I pay with pixie dust. No, I'm kidding. Of course, I know what the value of money is.
Well, okay, so I guess what I'm trying to say is that what is your definition of money? Because I have a definition of money. I think when we can understand money, we can understand the true political nature of how a country should run. So just out of curiosity, I'd like your opinion on what you think money is, like defined, like in terms of it's what? Somebody's what?
It's somebody's what? Money
Like,
is
money-
a method in which you pay for things, in which you sort of, it's an agreed upon, maybe I'm talking about currency here, but it is a sort of something that represents what is an agreed upon value, and you exchange it for other things of value.
Right, but to me, see, money represents somebody's labor. So I don't think it's right, I mean, in my personal opinion, for any political movement to try to decide where somebody's money should go if that person doesn't give it out of goodwill, like you said. That's why I think,
Well,
in
wait
my
a second.
opinion,
Now, let me ask you this: how can money isn't necessarily representative of someone's labor? What if you inherit it?
Well, then you're taking somebody else's money, but that should still be your decision, because in the end, you will labor with that money, correct? Just like if somebody was given 5 cows and 2 chickens, right? That person is given the chickens and cows, but it'll eventually deplete if he doesn't labor on those livestock. So money, to me, is a representation of somebody's labor, and if we go a little further back, it's a representation of, I guess you could say, a commodity. But in the end, I don't think any political movement, I think all these political movements should be shut down, and if people decide if they want to put money towards waste management or something. They should be allowed to decide that on their own. Why should they need somebody to tell them that their money should go here? Just like if the government told us we should buy iPads or something, like we wouldn't want that. We would want our own decision to decide if an iPad works for our life or not. So, I mean, that's my personal opinion about all political movements. That's why I listen to them and I just laugh when I'm listening, because it's just your idea. I mean, it could be good, it could be bad. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but
you got to forgive me here, buddy. I have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, I'm sorry. I just literally have no idea what you're talking about. What is it? What is your point? I mean, what is your point what is it that you're
Hey, Biggs.
what is it that you're arguing? Are you trying to make some type of point that you have a problem with a certain policy?
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is that liberty is the only movement that actually makes sense. There is no other movement.
What is liberty?
People should be allowed.
What does that mean? Liberty.
Well, that means freedom of choice, and the only reason why we have a government is to protect us from criminals and from injustice.
Who do you think printed that money?
Decide anything else.
Hey, dude, who do you think printed that money?
What?
The money that you've been talking about, who do you think printed it?
Who do I think printed it?
Yeah, you just said government should just to protect us. Well, they also printed your money. They also give it value.
Well, listen, correct, but I was born into this world. I didn't create it. But yet, if I was allowed to change it, nobody would print anybody's money. That's why they say gold is the money of kings, because a true king knows that if his currency is manipulated, he's not a king. So therefore, we can all be mini kings if we don't allow a government to print our money.
Fuck the government. Now give me my money, government.
Or we don't have to let a couple men in Washington decide our fate. You understand?
No, I understand what you're saying. But
Of course you do. All intelligent men usually do, because this is exactly what money is. It's labor. And if you're letting people in Washington do this, they are stealing our labor. And they're pocketing
But dude,
it
why
on the
stop
way down.
there? I mean, look, yeah, you didn't choose to get born into this society. You just were. But why stop there? Why not make everything free?
Well, you can't do that. It's impossible. Somebody has to work.
But why
So
not?
therefore,
Why not just
somebody
make
must
people
be-
have the ability to just conjure things up?
No, you can't do that, because
Nah.
then how are you going to give somebody an incentive to work? It's just like...
Well,
it's
here's
just
my
like saying,
point. You
oh,
can't do what you're talking about either. Everybody can't have their own currency, or it doesn't work.
No, we can have a currency, but the currency should be a currency from the ground's earth, something that can't be manipulated. That's a true currency.
You don't think
And
gold
that's
can be
crazy.
manipulated?
No, it can't be manipulated. Tell
Well,
me how
who
it can be
says?
manipulated.
Listen,
I
let
mean,
me ask you.
sure.
Let me ask you a question. Okay. So you think gold has some intrinsic value that paper money does not?
Well, gold, yes, of
Why?
course, because gold cannot be reproduced by another
Why
man.
not
It can only
gold?
be
Why
found.
can't you have? Let's make it iron.
Well, because I don't know if iron could be manipulated. I don't know that much, but I know that gold
Well, why?
can. And
why
if, you know,
wait.
if you
What's
look
the
at it,
difference
it can't be
between
manipulated.
gold and iron? Or let's just say water.
Well, I mean, in
Or
reality,
how
water
about
is worth something.
trees? I mean, do you understand there is no intrinsic value to gold? It's just that at one point people all accepted, yeah, I'll take payment in gold. That's all. That's all paper money is. It's just an agreement
Right.
amongst people that we're going to accept it. That's all.
Well, no, because prices do go up and down for us. Like prices have been going up for us in oil and in food and in all commodities. Because when money is abundant, it's basically the commodity will go up in price because there'll be more money chasing after that same commodity. So eventually,
I declare this gold to be worth $1 bajillion. Now give me all the houses.
things do have to recede in price. I mean, everything has to recede in price. But if you keep the money printing game going on, things will get so out of control. Like
So you're hoping for more deflation. Is that it?
Well, of course, we wanna first deflate, meaning get all the bad hands out of the economy, all the bad players, so that you can allow the good players back at a chance.
Who are
to,
the good players and the bad
acquire
players?
things.
What if I've taken a loan out? Am I a bad player because I have a 30-year mortgage?
No. You're a bad player if you're trying to basically sell something that has no value. So if you're trying to sell something to a group of people that has no value, and eventually people end up realizing it, and that becomes your scheme, if you go into another scheme, I hope you lose. But if you're a good man producing things that people truly use, like food, water, or just anything, a car, and you're making a living out of it and you're being responsible, you should be allowed to benefit off of other losers who keep messing up in their scheming game. You see, it's just like it's real life. This is not a game, but I call it a game, but it's real life.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So
this is
let me
money.
just can I summarize? We need to
Yeah.
go on it. We need to just be trading in gold, is what you're saying.
Well, I mean, yeah, like basically we all need to start trading back in gold because eventually when there's more products than there is gold will be worth more, and the opposite way around. When there's less products and more gold, that, you know, everything balances itself.
I'm going to do iron, buddy.
Out. Well, I mean,
I'm going to do iron.
You can do whatever you want.
I'm going to do iron.
I'm
going to do iron.
So, I mean,
I'm going to do iron. And in fact, everyone except for you who listens to this show, we're all going to do iron. Sorry,
well,
dude.
gold is going
Good luck
up,
with
so
your gold. We're going to do iron. Sorry.
Well, I mean, you know, trading your gold now, you'll start making, you know, you'll make paper currency. But, I mean, don't do it. But you'll have more paper currency than the person who's been holding U.S. dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, gold's going up for a reason.
Right.
Silver's
Yes.
going up for a reason.
Right. I understand.
It's a mass awakening, just like everything else. That's how all bubbles form. When the more and more people get awakened, or they go to sleep. Either way, the peak happens at that you know, the mass awakening. Gold will be at 10,000,
Right.
20,000. This is it.
Of course.
This is it.
Of course. It's just on the way up, buddy. I love it. All right. Great partying with you.
Thank you.
Right. Unbelievable.
That was actually really depressing.
I mean, it's pretty stunning. The idea that gold has some type of intrinsic value, no, it's just people have decided. It's tulips. It's tulips, folks.
Oh my god, that was too good. Sorry, I missed some of your messages. Uncle Pigs, you watch the stream every time a secular talk. You watch a secular talk video. It's pretty funny. It's fitting. It is quite fitting. But my liberty. Oh man, these guys are so funny. They're so serious too. I love how serious they are. It's pretty funny. Yeah, exactly. Someone has to put a value on it. Exactly. Literally exactly what Sam was saying. Tulips. Shit is gonna be the new currency. Your dad hates dark-skinned Hispanics? Does he hate black people as well? Does he hate dark-skinned other people? He's extremely racist against Mexicans. Jesus. He sounds like he's on the Trump train. You need to get off that Trump train. You should grab his tablet or grab his computer or sign onto his YouTube account and subscribe to like Secular Talk and Majority Report and all that. You're the only one watching the Patriots, yes. Are they losing? Because I don't want them to go in the Super Bowl again because they always win. Hey, Gold Knight, how are you, buddy? Who are the Patriots playing? You know what's funny? Last Super Bowl, though, the Patriots played against the Rams or some shit, and I went to a friend's Super Bowl party, and I got there like super last minute, and the father was like having a pool, for like betting what the score would be, and I'm like, okay, I don't know, I guess the last score was like they had the lowest scores to the highest, so I looked at the lowest, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go lower than that. So, and it ended up being the game where it was like the lowest scoring Super Bowl like ever. So I ended up winning like $200 or something. I was like, okay. I'm like, I didn't give a shit about the game. I almost got there too late where the father was just like, okay, you got to hurry up and pick one. So I picked one and I'm like, oh, I won. Cool. So maybe I do want the Patriots to win again. I don't know. So I can win again. Oh, they're playing Giants. Ooh. I'm surprised the Giants are keeping up with them. All right, this one is a short. No, debating the death penalty with a young caller. I don't know if he's a libertarian, but we'll find out if he's a real libertarian.
Where are you calling from, Matt?
Oh, I'm calling from Cincinnati, Ohio. Hi, thanks so much for answering my call, Mr. Cedar. My name is Matt. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm actually a 17-year-old high school senior, and I'm actually just and I'm actually just calling. I was off school today, and I usually watch your videos on YouTube after I'm done like with everything, like my cross-country practice and everything in the night. And I love listening to the discussions that you have and the debates you have with other people too. When I started listening to it, the show today when you started around 12, you said something about the death penalty that I thought was pretty interesting. That could sort of relate. Regarding the death penalty, you said that you're against the death penalty no matter what. Now, there's a man. I have a two-part question to this because there's a man, and I think his name was Charles something, but he was executed just a couple weeks ago. With some type of lethal drug that they're actually the Supreme Court's going to evaluate. But he was executed because he raped an 11-month-old girl and killed her. And I thought that was a pretty gruesome.
Horrible.
He's talking about Charles Warner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So I thought someone like that, or even someone like the Colorado shooter, the one who shot up the theater. I mean, people like those, they're a menace to society. And regarding the death penalty, I'm a liberal too, but I feel people like that, I don't know how you defend sort of incarcerating them instead of death penalty.
Well, it's not a question of defending them in any way. It is that I do not think that giving the state the power to kill in cold blood is the right thing to do. I think it sends a message that, like, look, what? Let me ask you this. Obviously, raping and killing an 11-month-old baby is absolutely heinous. What about raping and killing a 4-year-old?
Oh, just equally heinous.
Yes. And what about a 10-year-old?
Equally heinous.
Right. Now, what about a 20-year-old?
I would say that also that is also an equally heinous atrocity, but I feel like I think there's a preconception that society has with children as opposed to adults, and it's really horrific when you hear someone rape college students.
Right. I agree with you, but you see where I'm going with this. Okay. Are you saying just the death penalty for people who rape and kill children? Or are you saying just the death penalty for people who at least kill children? Or are you saying death penalty for killing a cop? Or death penalty? In other words, that line where you determine what warrants the state to have the ability to kill in cold blood, that's fairly arbitrary. And I think that if you can slide that line based upon who's making that judgment, then it's not that far to slide down the line to, like, it's justified that I kill this guy, because he just cut me off in traffic. Now, that's obviously an extreme example. But what I'm saying is that I don't think that we should give that. I think it is very problematic to give the state the authority to kill in cold blood. because I think then you're basically sending out the message that killing is okay as long as it's justified, even if there's no threat to you. You know, you say there's a threat, you know, then on some level at least that is a binary thing. There's either a threat or there's not. But something that is so heinous.
I am Moxley.
You know,
How
so
are you?
heinous to one person is not so heinous to another. It may just be
Voice is
heinous.
Huey. And
That's why.
Okay.
Is that-
You know, I don't know how many people exactly that he injured, but he killed a ton of people, injured a ton of people. He's actually, he could be classified as a menace to society. How would you sort of classify that?
I would put him in. I would put him in prison for the rest of his life if that's what's deemed. You know, if he's found guilty. I mean, you know, life imprisonment. I think is warranted in certain cases. But once we know that this guy's in prison for life and he can't, you know, and he's not going to be a menace to society anymore, then I think like the justification, I don't think there's any justification.
You're Moxley.
For a state
Yeah, Moxley. Yeah.
cold-blooded
Got it.
killing.
Oh yeah, definitely. That makes sense. So my second part to the question now would be, obviously the state is not involved. Well, I mean, it states that the federal Supreme Court's already ruled on abortion, but I always like to point out the flaws in the conservative ideology, in which they say that they protect all life when it comes to abortion, but not necessarily in the death penalty. And last week, one of my teachers, who was 26 weeks pregnant, said that she can feel the baby's legs kicking, and like she said that the baby's basically a baby, it's a human being inside of her, and she said that liberals who want abortion to be legal at 26 weeks, she should also take up the death penalty too. Like they can't be inconsistent. That I mean, if you want to be able to kill, then you should be able to kill on both issues.
I don't believe that a fetus is a person. And I believe that we have the reason why I'm against the death penalty is I don't believe that you should kill a person. If I didn't believe that we shouldn't kill life, I wouldn't eat plants or animal either, frankly.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't, you know, step on an ant. And you know, to me, it's about people, and I don't think that a 26 week fetus is a person. Yeah. I mean, that's basically where I draw the line. I mean, and you know, I mean, someone who is who doesn't believe in a woman's choice to have sovereignty over her own body would disagree and say that's, you know, an arbitrary distinction on your part. But you know, that person who we would kill, the state would kill.
Yeah.
I never refer to like I don't believe the state should, you know, should protect life. It's that I don't believe the state should have the right to kill a person in cold blood.
There's a little bit of a contradiction,
definitely.
though, in your position when you tried to kill that doorman in our last place a couple of months ago. That was a little awkward, Sam.
What doorman?
What doorman?
Michael doesn't feel comfortable with the conversation getting this serious, I think is what he said.
No, it's triggering for me.
But does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Now, I mean, when she said it, because it's a woman, she's pregnant, and I was actually, at the time, I was helping her wash out some beakers. And when she said it, I was really dumbfounded. Like, I didn't know where to go, because this is a woman who is pregnant. It's a woman, first of all. She's pregnant, and she's telling me this, and I'm a 17-year-old boy, and, I mean, you have kids, but I don't have kids, and I couldn't really think of an argument against that. And I thought,
well, I would say you have the choice, and that's what's really important, because if you didn't feel that you basically what I would say to her is that I think it's really important that you have the choice, because you feel that with this potential person or this potential child. But you should also have the choice to say, you know what, I want sovereignty over my own body, that this fetus of 26 years, 26 weeks rather, can't.
26 weeks.
Yeah, this fetus is not viable, and you should have the choice. You should have both the economic power that's involved in that choice. You should have the personal power that's involved in this choice. And that's it. And that's the way I feel about it. And she could say, oh, well, this is what I choose. That's fine. That's her choice. But the question isn't whether or not she has the right to choose to carry that term, that fetus to term, that pregnancy to term. The right is, does she have the right to force other women who are 26 weeks pregnant to force them to carry that fetus to term? That's the real question.
Exactly. Yes. Okay, but thank you so much, Mr. C. I really appreciate you taking my question.
My pleasure.
Me extensively. I really did.
Please.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Please, next time, call me Sam.
Bye.
Thanks.
Don't talk to him so respectfully. It sets a bad precedent.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's see. We got one more here. Right wing troll schooled, and then we're gonna listen to this other one. I think this is a long form debate. Dave Smith. What is this? I think it's Dave Smith. Yeah, listen to that. Yeah, Dave Smith. Have you listened to this one before, Donald? Is this one good? Hold on. This is a comedian. How he considers him a libertarian and explains how he considers him, why he's morally opposed to taxes. Should we cut? Oh, this will be a good one. That was a pretty good one. Yeah, that was respectful. A good respectful conversation. Now we need to get to the real stuff.
People who want health insurance should buy health insurance. Simple. Why should I pay for your health care? Get your own. I'll do the same. Well, Primer, first off, if I don't have health insurance, you pay for my health care. In fact, you already pay for other people's health care. In two different ways, you pay for other people's health care. One, with your tax dollars.
I still need to get a voice clip for the diarrhea thing, Murdoch, so hopefully he says it soon.
Two, with either higher insurance premiums or actually higher cost for your care because you're subsidizing other people who don't pay for their health care. That's the bottom line. But I do think, Primer, that is instructive for people to understand what this is about. There was a time in this country where there was agreement about the need for universal health care. That's why Republicans in the early 90s came up with this idea that is now called the Affordable Care Act. But what we see, what Primer is showing us, is that the right wing in this country fundamentally do not believe that society exists so that we can take care of those who cannot afford to take care of themselves. Whether you get hit by a bus or you have cancer, if you don't have the money to pay for health insurance and therefore have no capacity to pay for health care.
Hold on one sec. I just need to make sure this. Here should be the last one. Okay.
Then you die. That's it. And the question is, does the American people subscribe to Primer's vision of what American society should be or Primer's vision of what American society should be? There is no free lunch, he says. as he IMs me on the internet that was, in fact, developed by the government. The liberal free lunch thinking is why we're broke. No, actually, that's wrong. Both that we're broke, because I don't know who we are.
Exactly, that's the point.
I don't
Uncle
even
Biggs.
know how Primer
Slowly getting beat up.
pretends to use the. How dare you use the word we? In the sentence before, you just said there is no we. There's me, and then there's those other people. So there is no we here. Primer, we are not anything. I don't know who it is you think is broke, but there is no we. You've just stated that. There is no we. There's just you and the people who don't have your good fortune. There's no we. And I don't know who you think is broke. Because we know that taxes as a function of GDP are significantly lower than their traditional percentage over the past 70 some odd years, 80 years. We know that there's plenty of money out there. So I don't know who your we is, but you're also wrong about brokenness. Put your welfare giveaway free lunch thinking where the sun doesn't shine. Touche. Touche. Coming up with the Welcome Back Kotter reference. Nice one. All I can say to you, Primer, is up your nose.
Hey, what's up? Close it, please.
With a rubber hose.
All right, this is gonna be Dave Smith. Dave Smith. Hopefully, ask him if he has diarrhea.
On the phone, it is a pleasure to welcome to the program the host of the podcast, Part of the Problem, Dave Smith. Dave, welcome to the program.
Hey, what's up, Sam? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for doing this. And
Here we go.
We sort of threw this together pretty quickly relative to stuff that we do around here. And we had talked about in our brief email exchange about about maybe putting aside some of the issues that we would agree on, which I think, from what I understand, would be issues of largely of speaking of war specifically, and marijuana laws and perhaps policing. But if we come across that, I think that's fine. And broadly to talk about, let's see, what do we agree on? Was start with the proposition of good government should be small, or just broadly speaking in that way. Now, let me just ask you, let me just start with this, because I don't want to, I introduced you earlier as a libertarian. I don't want to label you as such if that's not the case, or allow you to sort of just introduce yourself.
You can always
to the
find it,
audience.
Murdoch, but it would just be funny if you asked me
well,
again.
thank you. I mean, I use the term libertarian, although I think, as we might all agree, there are problems with labels sometimes. So I guess if I'm probably most influenced by kind of the Rothbardian, if you know Murray Rothbard. So I'm kind of like a voluntarist anarchist. I don't really like that term, but because it just kind of conjures up images of like me throwing a Molotov cocktail through like a government building or something. But I would say I'm very culturally liberal. I mean, I'm a Jew from New York. Sound familiar?
I've heard of those.
I was raised by a single parent. I was just in a very liberal environment. So culturally, I had a very liberal background. I was very intrigued by Ron Paul's campaign in 2008, and that got me into really reading about libertarianism. And I have I've been convinced by a lot of great libertarian thinkers that that's kind of the way to go. I like the non-aggression principle, and I think what I would probably disagree with you about from previous debates I've heard you have with libertarians is that I think the non-aggression principle is not only works kind of academically as a philosophical idea, but I think it's also very practical and applicable.
So, all right. So that's a good place to start. So, do you think that? I mean, let's take it to where the rubber really meets the road. I mean, do you think that taxation, as practiced by our government, and I guess really all governments, is problematic?
Well, I mean, I don't think problematic is the word. I think it's immoral. So if the system that you're saying is we want to fund program X, okay, no matter how vital program
Here
X
we
is,
go.
you say the thing is we want to fund this,
Getting
and
into
the way
the
we're
thick
going
of
to
it.
fund this is say, give me money or we're going to throw you in a cage where you can be tortured and raped, then yeah, I think that's a horrible way to fund a system.
Okay, so all right, let me see if I understand what you're
So,
saying.
but you understand, like, problematic. I'm not just saying it's like inefficient. I'm saying it's wrong. That's the primary position.
Okay, it's wrong morally.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. So the idea of taxation is wrong morally to you.
Yes.
Okay.
But the problem here, just to be a little bit more specific, it's more the throwing someone in jail for not paying their taxes is what's really morally wrong to me.
Well, I mean, there's I don't know that a system of voluntary tax paying is really a tax system at all. So, I mean, I think
Okay. Yes, I agree with you.
when we talk about throwing somebody into prison if they don't pay their taxes, we're talking about a taxation system. How?
Sure. I just wanted to isolate what my moral problem with it is.
Well, sure. It's that you're forced to pay your taxes.
Yes.
Yeah, and otherwise they wouldn't be taxes. I mean, you know, at the end of the day. So, I mean, I think we're in agreement in that respect. So, what would be the alternative to funding a government, or do you not believe that there should be government funds?
I don't care what you call it as long as it's voluntarily funded. I mean, I really don't care what people do. I know a lot of times it's very easy to laugh off the idea of voluntary.
Rustin
kind of
Wiener, how are you, man? Thank you, man.
Because
Appreciate
of
it.
course, everyone right away goes like, "No, I know
Appreciate
nobody would
it.
voluntarily send in like 50."
We're gonna
their
jump back
income
into
to the
secular talk
government we have.
and Corin
But
after
truthfully,
this one.
I mean,
So
I don't know. I look around when there's a earthquake in Haiti. Americans
keeping my
get on
skills
their phone
fresh,
and
you know what I'm
voluntarily
saying?
text message over money right away. I think Americans are, by and large, very concerned. How about if just every liberal who I've ever met, how about if the 70 million people who voted for Obama would just, you know, throw a few bucks into basic services? I think we absolutely could fund.
Well,
what we
I
need.
think that happens now, doesn't it? I mean, everybody in this country pays taxes in one form or another, whether it's payroll taxes or sales taxes or excise taxes or income taxes. So it would take more than that, than just the 70 million. I mean, in fact, it would take more than just about everybody in this country throwing $10 in.
Well, hold on. Hold on. You lost me a little bit there. So the fact that everybody's paying taxes and the fact that it would take more than $10, what's
Well,
the
no,
connection?
Dave, it sounds like to me you're saying that the substitute for a taxation system would be just voluntary contributions. And I would argue...
So what do we get, like ballpark, do we get in tax revenue, like every year maybe like 2.6 trillion?
Right.
I might be a little off on that.
Right. And how would you...
No, I don't think we would get that voluntarily to just waste on mass murder, mass incarceration, and a lot of the things that we both agree that we don't like. No, I don't think we would get that type of money. I don't think we would be able to have maintained the war in Iraq because it was too unpopular. Like, no, I'm saying, yes, we would... Whatever you want to call it, if we had like a voluntary governing system, yes, I think it would be a lot smaller than it is now, but that would be wonderful from my perspective.
And so where is something like this worked? I mean, I understand you can say that they gave what was it, 50 million, 500 million?
On my mind, in the internet, Sam.
What's
That's
that?
where it works. I'm just joking. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Well, I understand that, you know, there was $500 million or plus probably.
There's always a moment. There's one moment where it starts to go very downhill. This was his moment, and it's only been 6 minutes in. We have an hour of this.
Donated to Haiti. A lot of that actually disappeared. We actually just coincidentally had a ProPublica reporter on a couple of weeks ago to tell us about how that money just disappeared. I mean, how would you because it was a private charity that was administering it, and there's a lot less oversight apparently of those than, let's say,
What
government.
you're saying, but I've also seen lots of data that kind of shows that private charity has wastes much less money than governments overall. If you really want to make that comparison. No, look, I'm not saying sending money to Haiti is the perfect
Wait,
system.
hold on, wait. I can't let that stay. What data? I mean, tell me more about that data, because.
Okay, I'm sorry. Look, I probably shouldn't say something like that without having more of it in front of me. But I've just seen before people show that like private charities in certainly some third world countries are much more effective at getting like aid and food to people than the local governments.
Oh, I would agree. I mean, I would agree. I would much rather hand some money over, I guess, to like an NGO, a trusted NGO working in Somalia than the.
I just want to make it clear. The point I was making with the thing about Haiti was the idea of voluntarily contributing, not necessarily that texting
Hey, Suffolk King, what's up, man?
money to Haiti is like the best, most effective system. So I'm not saying the money. The point I'm making is if that was being done on a local level, just for like a safety net or for like police or some type of police for poor.
Yeah, it's an hour, Murdoch. I could make it faster. I could do the playback speed. It's set to normal. If you guys want me to do like 1.25, I could do that, make it go faster. But we're gonna be chilling here for another hour probably anyway. So yeah, it's up to you guys. Your call. I'm fine either way.
Poor people, that would be much easier to make sure the money isn't wasted.
Yeah, it's
They're
new
not
people
texting
today.
it to
That's
some
cool.
Crazy government in Haiti.
Suffolk King, I haven't been there in a
You're
while.
texting it, you know what I mean?
Free
or
Hong
whatever,
Kong.
donating it to your local community.
Did you see that South Park
grew up
episode?
in New York, right?
That shit was awesome.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I don't
I
know
won't
if you've
ban your
ever
putting
been
your time
in
out, don't
like
worry.
a small town governance anywhere in this country.
Yeah, pretty soon he's gonna be like, I can't hear you. My phone's cutting. I'm sorry. I'm going through a tunnel.
When you talk about corruption on that level, but I don't think you'd see much by way of local initiatives to help the poor. But be that as it may, my point is that you're saying year to year we should just rely on what is contributed to I guess theoretically build roads. To what else? What things do you think? And I think we can agree that we would both like the military cut. Would you completely disband the military?
I certainly would. I mean, look, the American military, if you want to talk about it, like, you got to be real about this stuff. And like we commit mass murder in the Middle East, throughout the Middle East. There are millions and millions and millions of lives ruined because of our military presence. So, look, I'm not saying there's not a concern to how we would voluntarily defend this country, but it's like this is the world we're living in now. So, yes, I'd be much less concerned about that than what we currently have going on, just to say that. How do you voluntarily, defend the country? Look, the truth is
I'm not asking you about. No. I'm sorry. I don't think I'm being clear because I agree with you. I mean, our military is grossly oversized, and our interventions have been we've literally killed hundreds of thousands of civilians for what I can tell is no reason, or there's obviously reasons.
Yes,
ones I agree.
Like I said, I know we have large areas
but what
of
I'm
agreement
trying
in
to
this
suggest to
field.
you, what I'm trying to get to is that you're making a proposal that we don't have a taxation system because you find it morally wrong. Now, I don't want to argue about morals. I'm not sure why that's morally wrong, but
hold on. But the throwing someone in jail. Hold on. So let me just push you on that for a second. So you just kind of agreed with me on my principle about the Iraq War.
Right.
So you're telling me if someone stands up and they say, "I speak out against the Iraq War."
Sam Cedar is talking to a libertarian. Shocker. Dave Smith. Never heard of this guy. Yeah, so South Park nailed it. They fucking nailed with that Mickey Mouse episode, the Winnie the Pooh. It was so good.
And not only do I speak out against the Iraq War,
God damn it,
but
the Pats
I'm
are
not
winning.
going to send my money into Washington to contribute to mass murder. And we're going to take that guy and throw him in a cage, and you don't see the moral issue there?
I actually think that that's civil disobedience, and I think that you have to be prepared to go to prison.
Hold on.
in that
Okay, I'm sorry. But
situation.
Sam, so you're saying if it's a moral issue, you cannot pay your taxes, and then that's civil disobedience?
Yeah, if you choose not to pay your taxes, then you can expect to go to jail. Yes.
Yes, and if a slave ran away from a plantation, he could expect to be brought back to the plantation, but that doesn't make it moral. I'm just arguing that you can't acknowledge that that's wrong.
Well, wait, no. I know, because I do think that, look, we live in a society where it is imperfect, but we theoretically, as members of society, we agree to a social contract. Now, if you don't like the social contract in that society, you can go find a better society, one where taxation will work. I mean, this is why I don't want to get into the moral thing, but with that said, yes, you are morally obligated, I believe, to pay your taxes if you want to live in a society and benefit from that society. Now, I've often used the example of my taxes, I don't want them to go to paying for the Iraq War. And the fact is, I just did not have the moral turpitude to refuse to pay taxes and go
How
to
did she
prison
cave
for
to
it.
Republicans?
Like,
What
I
happened?
believe there are people who do specifically for that.
Right.
And I think that is one of the costs of society. That it is a act of civil disobedience. I have total respect for it. When people chain themselves to the front lawn of the White House, and they are taken to jail after they have told you must leave here, also an act of civil disobedience. And so I don't know what that means in terms of, is it moral that taxes are enforced? Yeah, I think that's moral. I do. And so, that's.
Hold on. She wanted to change the Christmas parade to the winter parade. So, like, the name of it to winter parade. And then she just. Wait, what? Hold on. She wanted to change Christmas parade to winter parade. But then because of Republicans, it'll continue to be Christmas parade? Hold on. I need to know more about this, because. And you called her out on it and she blocked you on social media? Ooh. That's a little. She probably got a lot of. Just. Hold on. So why is this an issue, number one? Why is this a big thing? Like, I get it, like. But it's just not. It doesn't. Like, who cares? Like, why was this even, like, a thing? That's a weird issue to, like, vote on. I assume they had a vote. That's weird. Well, what other stuff has she done aside this stuff? Like, how is she progressive for the state? But I think, yeah, that's a little weird. Like, she blocked you. Like, forgot. Well, how did you call her out? Did you, like, like, how did you say it? Did you say it, like, kindly? Did you say it like, I disagree with your opinion. You should have done this. Blah 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 blah. How did you voice your opinion? I'm not sure if we can talk over the computer with this. I have, like, so many things up right now, and I want to try and keep this up while listening to some stuff, but we can go into it another time, I guess. Oh yeah, get the link and everything. I don't know if links will go through here. But you could send it to me on Twitter. If it doesn't allow you to do it, you could send it to me on Twitter and I can open it up. Let's see. Hold on. Yeah. If you can't send, like, I'll look it up too, or you can tell me what to Google and we can look at it together, so you don't have to type everything.
Okay, look,
Let's get on to the practicality of it, because, and I'll tell you
that
what, because I do not think
sorry.
there is another way for society to function but for taxation.
Okay, but so there's almost like two separate arguments here. So I just want to make sure there's like, and this is why I tried to say this at first, there's kind of the moral principle, and then there's the like, hey, even if this moral principle is true, if it can't possibly work, then, right, who really cares? Because it'll just ruin society. So I get kind of the point. Now, I just want to respond to, for me, that just seemed like a lot of things. I get some points that you're making in there, but it seemed like a lot of dancing around the pretty obvious immoral thing that I laid out of throwing a guy in a cage to be tortured for not wanting
Well,
to pay
no,
for
I don't think
murder.
people should be thrown in a cage to be tortured,
Well,
but I think they should go to jail. I mean, I think that, yes.
Okay, I'm not gonna.
I'm not for
yeah, maybe
torture.
I'm being a little bombastic with rape and torture, but I mean, what they do to you in jail is pretty outrageous, and we probably agree on some of that.
Yes.
But so I just want to say that, I mean, you kind of threw out like a love it or leave it argument in there, where you're saying like, oh, well, if you don't like this system you threw out the word that we choose to pay taxes, which is my whole argument is that we don't choose, and I thought you conceded earlier that that was force. So my point is that we don't, choose to pay our taxes.
Okay, let me see. I think I found it. Editor's notes. Mayor Amy Goodwin. That's who you're talking about, right? Amy Goodwin? Yeah, Amy Goodwin. Has announced that after hearing from the public and consulting with the religious leaders of all faiths, she decided to return the word Christmas to the Charleston Christmas Parade. The original version of this commentary proposed during she had decided to change the name of the annual Christmas Parade. Charleston's welcoming includes more inclusive the floats. Is she a religious person? The Muslim the state's capital thing is the second other will have it recognized as Christmas and paid. Oh man, this like Merry Wintertime. I don't get this argument. I don't get like what the big deal is. Like, call it whatever the fuck you want. Like, I don't put it. I guess she was worried about the backlash. Who proved her in campus that she was just will get tagged as the Grinch who took the Christmas. She's worried about her standing. She's worried about like her constituents calling her like a Grinch because she took the Christmas out of. She's a default Christian. And that might have had something to do with it. I don't know. It seems like I wouldn't get upset about it, but it is weird that she like blocked you on Twitter. Like you would think like she'd want to talk to you about it. Is this really a problem with City Hall devoted with technical view to Christmas is not inclusive? I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. Like this is what our like representatives are focused on. Like honestly, personally, I don't really care. Like this doesn't matter, you know. Some of the kids are probably. Well, it depends on the issue. Like this I don't care about personally. Like maybe you care about it more than I do, but you know, I'd rather her cave on this than like a Medicare for all bill or something like really important to get like money out of politics or like whatever the case may be, like stop the wars and all that stuff. So that's more important to me than this. I know this is really nothing personally. No, I didn't see the link. I guess you can't post links in here. I don't know. Or did you send them on Twitter? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, but I don't know if this. I don't know. This doesn't bother me personally, but we should all focus on like real issues, real stuff that really affects people. Like this doesn't affect people's lives to like a really big degree. It's the buckle that angers. Yeah, I guess, but you want her to fight for something real, something that will really affect people. This plays to like the religious base. So maybe she made a calculated thing. She's like, oh, I have this much of the religious base. Like, this is my base. This is a certain percentage of my base. This will upset that base, and it was probably a calculation, but. Oh, let me see. Okay, you sent the link to me. So let me see. True shit about the calls we received regarding the Christian Brown Charles. The kind of vitriol that's come forth has been. Yeah, it seems like she's just like upset. There's people that made a mistake. Let me see. Let me see what she actually said. I truly appreciate all the calls, emails, and feedback we received regarding the Charleston parade. However, the kind of vitriol that has come forth since now and the change in the name of the parade has truly disappointed and hurtful. I do respect those individuals' freedom to deliver that message to my doorstep. Much consideration and conversation with religious leaders from all our faith, we decided to keep the name Charleston Christmas Parade. Understand the history and tradition of the parade and want to come years to come. Those citizens and interactions are the limb pinch of any community in front of us, and we continue to be excited for the new change of the year. I mean, if you don't believe in yeah, a lot of people seem upset about it. But she's probably received so much fucking negativity. She's like, I'm just going to block everyone. I was disappointed you shown weakness and now lost my support. Who cares? The name is just, but now everyone knows that you're here on the right way. You'll stand on these shame. And then this person responded. She's like, the whole city came against the idea. Include that, exclude what the president is created for. Thank you, my dear, for keeping Christ in Christmas. Christmas is such a corporate holiday. Like, it's just like, it's not even a real holiday anymore. It's so corporatized. It's like it just getting people to shop, and there's people that die because of the crowds on like Black Friday and shit for Christmas, and like, it's Christmas is just not. What does Christmas mean anymore? You know. My God. Rabbi Foreskin Snatcher. Oh my God. Oh my God. Hello, Foreskin Snatcher. Oh my God. I love that name. I love that name. Hold on, Sam. It's a buckle thing. Yeah, I get it, but like, to say that like you don't support her like at all anymore, I don't know. If she has a good record, if she has a good progressive record, I wouldn't go that far. You know, that's just me. Like, if she's been good, if she's been really fighting for these progressive policies, and you know, it's just this thing she buckled, like, I would give it a pass personally. I don't know. I don't think you need to go that extreme, but you know, I don't, as someone outside looking in, like, that's just how I view it. I don't live in the state. I don't really know the history of the parade or anything like that. That's just me. If you lose the election, he'll get banned on Twitter. He's probably going to jail after fucking if he loses the election, you know. Oy vey. Oh man. I am anti-Semitic. Yes, I guess you caught me. Valentine's Day is a joke too, dude. Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day. I hate those holidays. I hate them so much. Because they tell you, like, oh, here's the one day out of the year where you got to show your love for the person. It's either the person you love, the person, you know, who raised you, your mom, your dad, whatever. It's like, dude, every day you should fucking want to do something nice for them. It shouldn't be just the one day. I don't give into it. I don't like to buy cars. I don't like to go out. I'll be like, all right, Valentine's Day is this week. We're going to go out next week because the crowds it's just too crowded. And they're usually like, yeah, okay, I get it. So as long as you don't give into it, you know. Call me. I guess we can talk about it later, Sofa King. I'm going to try and get some work done tonight, and we can discuss it later, perhaps, maybe. I just want to try and get this work done, but it seems like I got the gist of like what's going on, you know. Be a good consumer and trample these people as you try to save $50 on your next TV.
Look, there's the love it or leave it model is like, fine, okay, if you don't like slavery, you could go to a country that doesn't have slavery, but you'll still concede it's wrong. So I was just trying to get that concession from you.
Oh, yes, no, I think slavery is wrong. I don't think taxation is wrong. I mean, I don't know how to say that more explicitly. I don't think taxation as on principle. You know, are there some taxes I think are bad policy? Are there things that taxes go to pay for that I disagree with? Yes. Do I think some of those things are wrong? Yes. But the idea of being forced to pay your taxes, do I think that's wrong? Absolutely not.
Okay, look, I understand like kind of the assertions that you're making, that you don't think it's wrong to pay taxes and you think taxes are necessary for society and this is kind of like the price of civilization.
Yes.
I don't quite still get, I don't want to just keep repeating ourselves. I still don't quite get how it's not horribly, horribly wrong to throw a man in a cage for standing up for a great principle. But anyway, onto the more practical.
I don't agree that it's a great principle, but okay, so we've agreed to disagree on that. So let's get to the practical.
Sofa King, I have a Facebook link down below. It's my my personal brand Facebook. It's not my Facebook, but down there you could like post a comment. We can have a discussion if you'd like later. Every libertarian gets into this. They just jump the slavery issue. They're like, slavery, and I'm like, what are they gonna say? What are they gonna say? Don't say it's okay if states vote on it. Don't say.
Part. How do you replace? And what is the idea? Let's in the context of America. If the idea is that we're not going to have taxation, right? For whatever reason, because how do you replace that? I mean, what is it that you get rid of to replace that?
Well, when you say what is it you get rid of, like I don't exactly understand. Like I mean, the income tax, you get rid of the taxes. Are you asking like what the transition plan? Because I'm just saying like to me the ideal society would be like a libertarian anarchy. I'm not saying we can have that tomorrow. I think there has to be like a transition.
Oh, I would love to hear about the transition. I'd love to hear what the society you're talking about looks like when we've made that transition.
Okay, it's butterflies and beautiful hippie love, and I don't know.
I would include unicorns too, from my perspective. But go ahead.
Well, look, I think to me, Ron Paul in the 2012 election proposed what I thought was the most reasonable proposal that I had ever heard in terms of a transition. And basically what he said was, we have to immediately, drastically cut in like in the military, in the imprisonment of our own people, like all the real evil stuff, we got to just cut immediately. And then he laid out a detailed plan, but it was basically, I think he took half that money that you cut to pay off the debt, and the other half was to tide over social programs, and then you put dates, off in the future where these programs are going to run out, because I don't know if we have time to even get into this, but I know you disagree with me on this, but there's $100 trillion of unfunded liabilities. They're all going to run out anyway.
Hold on.
So I think we should start planning for that.
Let's talk about unfunded liability, because this is one of the things that I love to debunk. When you say $100 trillion, what was it, $100 trillion in unfunded liabilities? Because I've heard.
What does the debtclock.org say right now? I'm sorry, maybe 80 something, 90.
Okay, I mean, because I've heard everything from 72 trillion up to, I think Ted Cruz said the other day, 200 trillion. What is that money? What is that unfunded liabilities?
Unfunded liabilities, well, I think the majority of it, I believe, is Medicare, right? But I think you're talking about, money that the government has taken in for entitlements and now owes to people, that they've basically spent that money.
No, what that money is, when you say unfunded liabilities, is projecting out over a 75-year horizon. The horizon depends on who's saying it, that on what we're going to have to pay out from Medicare or Social
Yeah,
Security.
is that what I said?
Well, no, wait a second. But the difference is the government has not yet taken in that money because we're not 75 years out. Because you and I, to a lesser degree, I have a feeling you're a little bit younger than I am, we have yet to finish our careers and have yet to finish paying payroll taxes.
Whoa.
as
I made the
is-
Sam Cedar show. This is the pinnacle for me. I'm out.
Well, all right, well, in that case, we have a little bit less to count on for your Medicare.
Yeah,
But the
yeah, we can
fact
talk
is
about
that
it later.
the reason
Sofa
why
King.
it's unfunded is because
You'll get my
those
smash tag
workers
eventually.
who are going to be
Eventually.
taken care of by Medicare when they hit 65, hopefully it stays at 65, and in our case, 67 for Social Security, we haven't finished working. We haven't finished paying into the system. And the fact of the matter is, even right now, if we change
She's hot, but
nothing
she's
about how we tax
she's Trump's wife.
those liabilities,
So
I don't know that they're quite
Wait, hold on,
liabilities.
hold on.
personally, I beauty doesn't just do it for me. I need brains as well. And say what you want, but like, you married Donald Trump. Donald Trump, that dude is like a giant Cheeto. Like, ugh. Like, there's no way you would be with that man if he wasn't like rich. There's no way. There's no way. So she dated for money. It's pretty much what she did. And then she like swipes his hand away, and like it's kind of funny. Take it easy, Sofa King. Thanks for hanging out, man.
Hold on.
Projected
An
liabilities.
unfunded liability is something you owe that hasn't been funded. I'm not saying there's no
Well,
future
the reason why it
taxation
hasn't been
that's gonna
funded
come
is
in.
because we're not there yet. And in fact,
No, I
those
understand.
liabilities
I
are not.
understand.
But Dave, those liabilities aren't paid out tomorrow. Those are liabilities that we're going to accrue over the next 75 years. But what else is going to happen over the next 75 years is that people are going to pay into that system, and you're not counting the other side of the ledger. You're just looking at the liabilities, but you're not looking at the assets, which is the 300 million people in this country who will work for the next 25, 40, 50 years to pay into that system. So yes,
Oh, okay.
they are
So let me just-
liabilities. They
I'm
are
sorry.
unfunded because we're not in the future yet. And when we're in the future, they will automatically, unless everybody just goes away from America and comes back when they're 65, that's the only way those liabilities are going to be unfunded.
Okay, so let me just make sure I get like what you're saying, and I understand the point that you're making about like so future assets in a sense not being counted in that total liabilities number.
Right,
Is kind of
there's
what you're saying.
two
So the
columns in that
liabilities-
ledger.
I'm sorry.
There's two columns in the ledger. What you're going to
Right.
owe and what you're going to make. And I can guarantee you that we will make X number of dollars in those funds because unless we all evaporate and just show up when it comes time to retire.
Okay. So, I get the point that you made. So you don't see any demographic problems coming up in the entitlements. You're saying that basically there won't be any unfunded liabilities once people pay it. That we can raise this $100
Right
trillion
now-
through taxation.
Right now, if we do nothing different, starting in 2036, because this date has actually gotten further out over the past couple of years. It shrunk. It was down to 2031. At 2036, if we do nothing, we will still pay out Social Security benefits to the tune of 80 to 85% of what has been promised as of now.
So, yeah, but Social Security isn't
Obscure-
nearly as bad as Medicare, right?
And
I understand what you're saying. Social
Medicare,
Security,
Politics,
you can work with
Medicare
that.
is in tougher shape, no doubt.
I'm hotter than Trump's wife. Thank you, man. I try. Trump's always a bad comparison. Yeah. I choose Angela Merkel. I wouldn't go that far. Angela Merkel. It's nice to see where your standards lie. I mean, I would choose Trump's wife over Angela Merkel personally, but that's an extreme comparison.
Out. And
Angela
the bottom line is, I mean, now the numbers have been rejiggered because, frankly, the growth of this stuff has the growth curve has significantly turned down. Let's presume it doesn't stay that way. Yes, I agree with you. We need to raise FICA taxes slightly, but traditionally speaking, FICA taxes, payroll taxes, have been applied to 90% of the income generated in this country. And as of today, it's around 82%.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but there's a lot of other things going on, too. I mean, traditionally speaking, we haven't had a government that spent this much money. We haven't had interest rates at 0%. I mean, why don't we throw in interest rates rising up to, say, anywhere near historic averages in these next 20 years or whatever we're talking about? What happens to all this debt we're servicing then? I mean, do you worry about that at all? Do you worry about, when they see the projections in, 20 years that the interest, goes up to start
Tommy
overtaking,
Lauren.
the whole budget? I mean, what do you...
You guys are providing a very extreme alternative. You're saying this very older, unattractive woman, or this hot conservative, give me a good example. Give me a better example. Put her bag on her for Jesus Christ. Then do the prime German prime. Jesus Christ. Give me 2 conservative hot women, which is not hard. But I'd have to choose on how vile they are. The Pats are going to win. Well, that's a shocker.
What's your take on that?
Well, as a percentage of our GDP, our debt is actually around average levels right now. So
yeah, but the problem with that, Sam, is that the GDP, the number of the GDP, I mean, government spending drives up the GDP, military spending drives up the GDP.
Yes.
So you do all this crazy shit, and then you keep spending more money, and you can go, oh, look,
yeah, but where do you think they spend it? Where do you think they spend it? I mean, I would prefer. I'd prefer it not being spent on the military. But when the government spends money, where do you think they spend it? They don't go to some special black hole and they
you want to know? It's the Bohemian Grove, dude.
Yes,
that's where they spend it all.
All the money they all head out there and take off their clothes and they drop it in a bucket
orgies and lots of money floating around.
Now,
that's what I.
This is actually one of the things that I did hear you talk about on your podcast. The one I listened to was about Bernie Sanders. And I also listened to a little bit of another show you were just on recently. And one thing that did come up.
Tommy Lauren or Megyn Kelly? Well, again, Tommy Lauren's much younger than Megyn Kelly. And I don't think Megyn Kelly's that hot. So I would, again, choose Tommy Lauren. In only that fucking situation would I ever choose Tommy Lauren.
Up that I wanted to that you've just sort of jogged my memory about was this notion of when government spends, and I would prefer they didn't spend it on the military, but the fact is when the government spends money, it doesn't just evaporate. It recirculates in the economy. And
absolutely. And that's true of the private sector too.
Yes, of course. And so what is the problem with the government spending? I mean, it being a driver of GDP. Because they're spending it. It's not like they're spending it in a parallel universe that doesn't implicate my life and your life. It helps the economy.
Sure. But look, there's just the fact that money's circling around doesn't make an economy work. I mean, you could go to say a third world country tomorrow and be like, okay, I'm going to print $2 trillion and you all have government jobs. Here, that's an economy, right? Just as strong as any economy. Money's flowing around. It's about whether the money's flowing around and producing the maximum amount, whether resources are being allocated properly. So that's the argument against government spending is that it's, I mean, obviously I made the moral argument up front, right? It's based on taxation, which we don't agree, but I think is immorally, raised funds.
Right.
But the efficient problem with spending is that the idea that that the government doesn't allocate taxpayers' money well. I mean, that's kind of the problem with government spending, that you drain this money out of the economy. You have to take the resources from the people.
Wait a second.
Who are,
what do you mean drain
stuff.
it out of the economy?
I'm sorry?
We've just agreed it stays in the economy.
S31, how are you, man?
What do you mean drain it out?
I'm sorry. I should replace economy with private sector, I should have said.
Okay.
They drain it out of the private sector.
So
that's what I should say.
give me an example of how the private sector allocates money better than the government.
Well, I mean, I think the example of mass war, mass incarceration, that's pretty good. What private company does that?
Well, there's a lot of private companies. Actually, Bernie Sanders
do they compete with the U.S. federal government?
Yes, the government actually contracts it out to them.
But,
So there's
yes,
private.
but from my perspective, though, that's a government, corporation relationship. I mean, that's like when they give a corporation the power of government without any of the oversight. So I'm not for that. But I'm saying, like, yeah, but no private company without government funding or government, or without like a war on drugs, the private prisons can't do any of that shit. That would just be kidnapping.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, I didn't mean
you and I would agree in terms of we want the U.S. government to allocate less resources to the military. I think we would agree on that. But what
Yeah.
in the discretionary budget would you take issue with?
Well, look, I mean, I don't like the idea of any of it, man. I don't like the idea of anything forced. Even if you can make the argument that, like, whatever, we can tinker with the age of Social Security, or we can take care of these unfunded liabilities, which I do feel like, look, I know that one of the things I respect about you is you know your stuff and you can go chapter and verse with this, and you make me kind of want to look into more of that stuff now. But I'm just saying, look,
Dave,
even the
that's
idea
my
of just a
agenda.
government forced. I'm sorry.
That's explicitly my agenda.
That is explicitly what? Your agenda to make me look into stuff more?
Yes.
Well, I'm always doing that, so you've already succeeded in your agenda.
Okay.
But look, I'm 100% convinced still on the disagreement we had in the beginning of the moral issue of imprisoning someone for not wanting to contribute to mass murder. But I'm sorry, back to the problem with even something like Social Security is that it's like coming in and forcefully taking people's wealth to maybe give back to them when they retire. I'm not saying that's not even better for some people, but how many people out there could have used that wealth in some other way that would have been better? I mean, you just don't know.
Okay, we do have an example though, because we do know what the situation was before Social Security. In fact, we can also know right now what the situation is even with Social Security. So before Social Security, you had nearly 2/3 of our elderly living in poverty. And
hold on. What year are you talking about? Like 1935?
Well, yes. The year,
Okay,
not just
because,
35.
the economy in 1935 was maybe the worst economy in the history of the country.
Go back to 1920.
Hold on. Angelina Jolie or Mila Jovovich? Hold on. Is she the chick that did the Underworld movies? I need a good picture of her. But just by the face alone, I would pick her over Angelina Jolie. 100%. Oh, she's a Resident Evil chick. Sure. Shitty movies, but I don't like Angelina Jolie, really. I don't think she's that hot either. I agree. Shakira, Rihanna. Shakira any day, anywhere. Now, if you're asking me Shakira or J-Lo, ooh, that is like that. I gotta like sit down and think about that for like a week. I don't know if I can choose it right now, guys. Shakira or J-Lo, who would you pick? And the Pats are winning. Fuck the Pats. Shakira or J-Lo? That is the ultimate question. Let me provide some visual aid for those of you that have forgotten.
Go back to the Roaring 20s.
Okay, so there was no such, yes. So, but now you're going back to a time of such a more primitive economy. I mean, there's no such thing as retirement.
1935. I'm telling you, prior to Social Security. I mean, I don't know what you mean by primitive, but okay, we can also look at data today, and we know that at the very least, 15 to 20% of our elderly would be living in poverty without Social Security now, and we have yet to see the implications of this massive failure of 401ks, because the 401k system has been a complete disaster, and you've got something like 40 to 50%, a completely voluntary process. So we have 40 to 50% of people entering into retirement without any retirement savings whatsoever, not a dollar. And they're entering into this. So what do you, as a society?
I agree with you on the 401k thing, and I do think that that's not just a free market problem. I mean, the government, like we have a whole tax system basically designed to force you to invest in Wall Street for your retirement, which I think is just nutty.
Well, no, you can put your 401k in other things. You can keep it in a bank account if you want. I mean, you can put it wherever you want. You could put, real estate. You can't live there, but you could.
Okay, but certainly, like, say, investing in your local neighborhood or in, like, some local business is not nearly as easy as it is to just put your retirement, like, in a 401k and or I certainly.
Well, that's not just taxes. It's because
people.
business is hard. I mean, that people could start a business if they want. I would advise it against that as a way of protecting your a retirement pension. But listen, the bottom line is that, like, what do you do? What do you do if there's no
Okay,
Social Security?
Can I address just something else that you said there before? Because I think when you talk about like Social Security working because of what it's doing for the people who receive the checks, I do kind of feel like that's only.
I think I picked Shakira. I think I made the decision, and the reasoning is, and you guys agree with me. I think I agree. Shakira is Colombian. I'm Colombian. They are the freakiest chicks you guys will ever fucking like meet or experience in your life. That's one. Second of all, she was on The Voice, and I was watching The Voice when she was on. She's such a nice person. J-Lo strikes me as the very controlling, very like moody, very much like it's my way, bitch. And Shakira does not strike me as that. So I didn't think I had to think about it about a week, but Daisy Ridley? Who the fuck is that? Daisy Ridley. Oh. Fucking the Star Wars chick? Tommy Lauren or Daisy Ridley? Tommy Lauren's a shitty person. I'm not that attracted to this one. So I'd probably pick her because she's probably way nicer than Tommy Lauren. Unfortunately, I know a lot about Tommy Lauren. Oh, sorry, I missed your question, Murdoch. And Shakira's hips don't lie. They don't fucking lie. Sarah Palin, or the female version of Ted Cruz that was paid for the porn video. Female version of Ted Cruz. Wait, hold on. I take that back. I'm thinking Sarah Palin, the female version, I was paid for the porn video. Oh my god, dude. I'm thinking of the female that's infamous for the porn that Ted Cruz saw, where she's like, oh. I'm thinking like that girl, but no, you're talking about the female version of Ted Cruz. Wait a minute. Maybe I haven't seen that person. Wait, I don't know who that is. Are you talking about the female that was like on Maury or something? Oh my god, I'm gonna... Female Ted Cruz porno. This is... You're talking about the female Ted Cruz lookalike. Agreed. Oh no. Oh no. Sarah Palin, 100%. Oh my god. Dude, she looks exactly like Ted Cruz. Oh my god.
For the past 48 hours,
And when
it's
I was
gone
talking
viral.
I was, sitting there just kind of shocked. Nothing on there looks the
Nothing.
same. What's that? I mean, the only one I've ever, heard of was Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. Okay. Now, do you think you possibly could be a relative?
No, I mean, look at that, Maury. The eyes are different. The nose, he's got a bigger nose than I do. I mean, look at the chin, Maury. I mean, nothing on there looks the same.
Nothing. Well, there's a little resemblance, I must say, seriously.
No, in my eyes, Maury, there is nothing.
Okay.
Nothing on that picture
All right, okay.
makes me look like him.
All right, okay. So, do we have any questions for you? I mean, are there questions on Facebook here?
Yes. Someone wants to know, actually, how old is Cersei?
How old are you, Cersei?
I'm 21, fixed to be 22 in
That's
October.
all, 21.
Yep.
Isn't that great?
I'm still in that young stage.
Would you want me to get involved, get Ted Cruz to give you a ring, or find out if they're maybe, where are you from?
I'm from Natchez, Mississippi. I was born and raised there.
Right. Is there any Cubans in your background?
Not that I know of.
Okay, because he's Cuban.
Scott Michaels wants to know, would Cersei ever consider being Ted Cruz's campaign advisor?
No.
No. Are you a Trump person?
No. Okay, this is my thing. I personally will not sit there and vote for nobody.
Right.
Because of the simple fact, if I don't know you, know what you're running, and if it's my cousin, I don't care. I want to know.
All right, that's enough of that. Jesus Christ. That was 2016. Her porno must be out by now. Oof. Jamie Valentine? Who is that? Jamie Valentine. Who is that? Oh my god, she's from porn, bro. What are you guys making me fucking Google? This chick? I mean, she's hot. Have I seen her porn? No. I don't know. She sounded like death. Oh, she sounded like death. All right, let's continue with this. I gotta get the image of that Ted Cruz lookalike out of my head. Oh, it's so bad.
Looking at one side of an issue. I mean, look, truthfully, right now, and I don't quite understand how liberals don't have more of a problem with look, if you're talking about young people paying into a system that pays old people's retirement, you have a transfer program from a poorer group to a richer group. That's what you have there. You can talk about what seniors would have been in poverty if they weren't getting that money, but young people are less wealthy than the old people receiving them as a group.
I mean, I think that's probably the case because by the end of your life, hopefully you've been able to accrue some money. But that's the way that system works. I mean,
but I'm questioning whether it should work that way. Look,
well, okay, well, I mean, are you questioning it on moral grounds or are you questioning on efficiency? Like, tell me a better system because I'm certainly open to a better social insurance system that does not necessarily transfer money from present workers to retired workers. If you can come up with it that works, I'm all ears. But,
well, I don't know, man. I mean, look, I think if you look at the past, right? Like, obviously, when you go to the past, things get more primitive, and I'm not saying, like, I want all the modern technology.
1930 wasn't that primitive. 1930 wasn't that primitive. You could actually watch films of it. Come on, Dave.
But I said, okay, so before, say, like the 60s, right? You had drastically less federal intervention in medical care in general, right? So there's no
there was
Medicare
no Medicare.
and
There was no Medicare.
I'm sorry?
And no Medicaid. Right. No Medicare and no Medicaid.
Yeah. So drastically less. I don't know for sure that there was none, but much less involved. I think there were still some regulations and stuff like that. But so you had countries in Europe that always had government, models. Germany, I think, had universal health care for a long time. Lots of other countries. I mean, America's health care was out competing theirs at the time. I think if we had kept a free market in place.
What do you mean out competing? What does that mean?
Well, I think, I believe at the time we had to, I don't know exactly how you measure it, but we were by far the wealthiest country. I believe you were probably better off getting medical service here. Look, I am just saying, I heard someone in the back say, like, where's the data?
Dave, hold
and you're
on
right,
for a
this conversation's just taking turns that I wasn't sure it was going to take.
Well, no,
I don't
that's
have
fine.
all this data in front of me.
But I mean, just at least define the term. I mean, out competing, do you mean that more people had access to health care than
just how about this?
Before
would
Medicaid
you agree
and
that
Medicare?
America, say, like in the 50s versus the more like kind of socialist countries in Europe, do you think we had like a stronger economy, like the average like salary or the amount of wealth that we had in this country?
I mean, a lot of those countries in Europe in the early 50s were dealing
Gardner
with
Minshew? Never heard of her either.
Pretty
Let me look her up.
big trauma that they were recovering from.
Okay, yes, I do remember there were a couple big traumas over there. Yes, you're right. I know governments were.
Oh, it's a football dude. I thought it was a hot chick.
A lot of people in Europe. I'm trying to, just come up with an example, but I do think that America, for a long time, was probably the best experiment in free markets. Not far from perfect, but probably the best experiment.
You know what the income tax rate was at that time, right? The top margin.
No, I know the income tax. I know the income tax rate was a lot higher at that time. But if you
give me a sense.
look at,
Give me a sense
of
how
people,
much.
dodge that as they still do up at the top. When top rates are really, really high like that, I think it can be a little misleading sometimes. But yes, I know income tax was very high. But at the same time, we also didn't have, fiat currency. We didn't have a government spending this much money. So there's also a lot of.
Hold on for 1 second. Hold on one second, because I want to get to that fiat currency thing in a moment, because it occurs to me now that if you are sort of a von Mises person, that you may have an issue with our fiat currency. But let's just talk about those top marginal tax rates, because I love an excuse to remind people what they were. For every dollar that you made over $400,000, maybe it was $450. I mean, it depends. It fluctuated slightly. The top marginal tax rate was over 90%. Now, in today's dollars, 400,000, I think, is a couple of million. Top tax rate, 90%. So 90 cents of every dollar that you make over a couple of $1 million, income tax taxed at 90 cents of that goes to the government.
It's a man.
Now, remember, this is the era of
Sasha Fox or Megan Fox?
the most free market that you were talking about, but they have that big moral issue of the thing. And I would also add that within the 40s and 50s, you had all of this incredible investment as a function in our infrastructure, as a
Megan
function.
Fox.
In some cases, the
Megan
federal
Fox,
highway
definitely.
system was, perhaps at least it sold in somewhat as a mechanism to make sure that we could deal with.
That was
we
easy.
could have a greater war capacity, but it was also ostensibly to develop our economy. But you had all this New Deal investment. You had all of the investment that came from expansion of our capacity, our factories' capacity, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, so I'm not sure what you mean by.
Look, I get the picture you're painting. Let me kind of give you my view of it, which I think is drastically different. And I understand the point of it being like, yes, income taxes were very, very high in the 50s and 60s. I think, what was it, Kennedy was the one who brought them down, right?
To 75%. 75% was the top marginal tax rate under Kennedy.
Right, and he was higher before him, right? It was 90, and then he brought it down or something like that?
Yeah, he brought it down 15%.
Okay, so fair enough. And then I guess anyway, so I'm not denying that. Yes, that's very true. Here's some other points. This is kind of how I look at the bigger picture. From, say, the end of the Civil War to the beginning of the First World War in America, I would say it's probably the largest experiment in free markets at that time in the history of man. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. Lots of people were excluded from the free market. We fucked up in a lot of ways. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm not supposed to curse.
That's all right. We can always deal with that.
Okay,
No. The part about the success.
Sasha Fox is another porn star? Well, I got this chick. I got some chick. Oh man, I don't want to do this, but oh Jesus Christ. Model. Is this her? Sasha Fox is this chick? There's so many Sasha Foxes. It's probably this chick. Fox with 2 X's. Oh, does that really make a difference? Oh God. Megan Fox. Oh God. Let's get out of here. I don't want people to get too excited. It's not that kind of stream. It's not that kind of stream. Oh, YouTube, don't ban me. YouTube.
Yes, from Reconstruction.
We'll have to go full time to Twitch.
To the First World War was the part that I actually almost spit my coffee up.
Wait, the Reconstruction to the end of the Civil War?
I mean, to the First World War.
No. Oh, okay. So I'm saying, yes, so Reconstruction to the First World War. I'm just saying we did have a huge country with no income tax, no central bank, very, very small federal, I think spending is like, the average was like maybe 3% of what the national income or whatever.
Cover your eyes,
I'm not
Murdoch. You're a
saying it's
young
perfect
boy.
time, but I'm saying it certainly was an experiment in very restrained small government. and it did produce the wealthiest country of all time. It was by 1913, even still with no income tax whatsoever. So if you want to take the point of like,
well,
having
there
these,
was
high tax rates-
taxation. There was taxation, right? I mean,
Yes, but I'm just saying you were talking about the income tax, so I'm just sticking with that one point. The income tax there was at 0, okay, and there was certainly far less taxation than later. I'm just saying at that point we had people all over the world jumping on boats trying to get to this country just for the freedom. I mean, I don't know, sure, we can pick some points and say where things went wrong, but the big picture to me is that free markets worked really, really well.
So you want to take us back to the late 1800s?
No, come on, that's such a false narrative. Look, dude, I don't want to take us back a few hundred years. I want to have free markets in 2015.
But so you don't think like robber barons were in? You don't think that the land grants from the government?
No,
you think
I
this
think
is
they
all
were
free
a big
markets?
problem. I'm not saying it's like a utopia where there's no problem. But look, this is what happened. Okay, I just want to continue with this thing about like my view of the history compared to yours. So then you have right after that you have the big progressive era in the teens. We get an income tax, a central bank. We're in a world war a few years later. Then we're in another world war. And then yes, you're right. The government kind of keeps expanding ever since then. I just don't look. Would we have problems with robber barons? Sure. We just lost 40% of the wealth in this nation because they bailed out these rich people. I know a lot of it's coming back, but it's going disproportionately to rich people. So yes, there would be people robbing without government. We'd have to find a way to deal with that. But I think the problem's much worse with a forceful monopoly.
All right. So let's get to. I mean, I don't think the experiment went very well in the 1800s. I think otherwise you wouldn't have had things like the progressive era. You wouldn't have had things like.
Well, no, but that's just because something happens doesn't mean it was right or necessary. I mean, things happen. You know, I mean, I'm not saying the system was perfect, and I'm sure a lot of the flaws are what led to these things coming over. So I don't disagree with that.
Okay. I mean, you want to. If there's principles of the Gilded Age, I guess that move you. I don't. You know, we had child labor at that time. You know that, right? Free market.
Yes, I'm well aware.
You don't have a problem with.
There was also child labor in every time before that. You know, to me, what ended child labor was the wealth. I'm not denying that the government didn't clean up the last little bit of it, but I'm saying like what ended child labor was free markets and wealth to me. Or forget the free market, but just the wealth effect. You know, you go back 200 years, people would have laughed at you if you had said we should end child labor. They would have said the kids will starve.
Right. All right. Well, I mean, the actual thing was, I mean, I will agree that I think that it's quite possible that the changes in our economy made it possible for the legislation to pass. I mean, I'll agree with that to a certain extent because that's just the way that legislation gets passed. When you have such a massive wealth,
y'all dirty
disparity,
minds, all of you,
led up to the 1920s.
All of you.
Then you're going to have it. It's going to impact government, obviously, because
Mia Malkova,
the big industrialists don't want to lose and agrarian folk don't necessarily want to lose a huge portion of their cheaper labor. But
okay, can I ask you this? So
sure.
Because I kind of feel so if your take more because I know you're not like a socialist, like the government should own means of production or anything like that. So is your take more or less like you kind of like the regulated free market? So you have to have this free market, but the government has to kind of regulate its excesses.
Well, I don't even believe in a free market. There's no such thing as a free market. There's no such thing as a free market. It doesn't exist. I mean, you could. There's simply no such thing. The government is involved.
You conceded earlier that the government is based off
bitch a porn star
taking your money. So just comparing the fact that, say, like, you know, the businesses that I can open that have to go compete with each other versus the government forcefully taking, whatever you want to call those businesses. You believe in some type of a marketplace.
Oh, sure. I believe in a well-regulated market. I believe that government can handle some functions much better than private industry. Health insurance is one of those.
Now, how do you? So this is almost like what I find a little strange. That I find it's like this thing, kind of like if trying to find the best way to put this, but like say we were talking about the mafia or something like that. I mean, you conceded kind of the mass murder, mass imprisonment. It's this horrible institution in this part. But the same people, the same legislators who are running things, you like what they do over here. So it's almost like you're trying to sell me like that the mafia runs a really great daycare when they're not murdering children down the block, which right away is just hard for me to kind of wrap my head around. But so when you see this government,
well, I think the reason
you know,
why you're having a tough time wrapping your head around it is because Tony Soprano is not going and whacking a guy and then going into a classroom of 3-year-olds. The government is not an individual. The government is an institution.
I'm not good at analogies.
The government is an institution. I mean, look, do you think there are bad comedians out there?
Professional Twitch tot? What does that mean?
Funny?
Yeah. But,
sure.
But that doesn't mean that comedy is bad.
Right. But if I told you a comedian was a murderer, and
right.
then you were
I
like,
would not have
the comment?
that comedian. That's exactly my
Still got to play that game.
Listen,
person,
so
and then
you've got to be a huge Bernie Sanders fan,
I might not
right?
care about that.
Well, I mean, so how do you have a problem with Bernie Sanders? I would imagine because he doesn't like, he doesn't want the military.
I love these people.
He wants to cut the
Murdoch.
military as well, but wants to push these social programs. You have a problem with the social programs too, right? I mean, that's what I'm understanding.
Yes. No, I don't think I've minced my words on that at all. I have a problem with the whole institution of government. I commend Bernie Sanders for that stuff on the foreign policy. I think he's really good with that. I like that he was he worked with Ron Paul on auditing the Fed and stuff like that. I think he's got some.
Based on your logic, Dave,
Hillary Clinton.
Based on your logic, the fact that the government wages war now, the war that you and I don't like, and allocates its money in ways that you and I don't like. We agree with some of that.
Well, let me see. Ariana Grande or how old is Ariana Grande? She's like mad young, isn't she? Oh, she's 26. Okay, Ariana Grande over Rebecca Stiles. Yeah, Ariana Grande, hands down. Hands down. Yeah, she's 26. Oh my God, how old is Rebecca Stiles? Well, it doesn't matter. I didn't pick her. Doesn't matter. Twitch is basically a hot girl on Twitch that uses her looks to make money. Isn't that mostly Twitch? Like, show your boobies. And Pats are still winning. Fuck, man, that dissented quickly. I thought Giants had a chance. Ariana Grande is 26, so that's okay. So it wasn't a trap, unless the trap was picking Rebecca Stiles, who is like 12, but she didn't look 12.
Others we don't. I mean, the fact of the matter is, there was a government in the Gilded Age as well. There was a government in the late 1800s. You don't seem to think that government is bad, or was government bad then too? I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Okay,
there was lots of horrible things that happened back.
Right.
Look, I think that the more you go back in human history, if you want to go back that far, by modern moral standards, every government's very bad.
Right.
I mean, all of human history was based on conquest up until basically the Enlightenment. Okay, I shouldn't say that everywhere, but there was, there was like an Enlightenment, and then we got a little bit better, and then we get, but yes, sure, it's horrible.
So
all
wait a second.
human history.
So all right. So you don't think there should be any government whatsoever? Because you're telling me that I cannot appreciate and promote certain government functions because of the government functions that they do in terms of war. So are you basically suggesting
I just want to
no
say
government?
that I would be, maybe the better way for me to put that is I would certainly at least be skeptical of the person who you think should be strung up on war crimes being the guy who's running the healthcare system.
I definitely am.
Okay, fair enough. So maybe that's a better way to
Piker is a Twitch tot.
No, look, again, because the word government, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with what I'm saying. There's anything the government does that you want it to do, it's not that I'm saying that can't be done. I don't think it should be done with a forceful monopoly. So I know you're saying that makes it not a government or whatever.
There's no other way for a government to function, and there's never been a way for a government to function but for a forceful monopoly. I mean, all right, let's go to private property then, okay? Because if we're going to get into this whole thing about why should the government send out a policeman to come and stop me from taking your bicycle?
Well, it's not so much a matter that my position isn't that the government should send out a policeman to do. Or is your question why should?
You're a sneaky dude, Murdoch. I know you.
Why do you allow for the fact? Why can't I take your bicycle?
Trying to play innocent.
I think. Well, I believe in private property. I think that kind of is rooted in self-ownership in a sense, right? So
What?
like you own yourself, you own the fruits of your labor, all that, kind of Lockean
You didn't
stuff.
make that bike.
But let me just answer
You
the
bought
question.
that bike
So-
with money that has value because of taxes.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
You didn't make that bike. You bought it with money that has value in this country because of taxes.
Okay, but if the money has value because of taxes,
Yes.
I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Oh, no,
I
that
mean,
is
money can be
necessarily
printed-
true. There's
money-
one reason. Listen, Dave, there's one reason why I will accept your U.S. dollar to buy it's because I can pay my taxes in it, and I have to pay my taxes. That's the way the system works, bud.
Okay, no, I'm not. That certainly adds a lot of value to the money, right? No, I understand you
not
need currency
adds
because
a
that's the only
lot.
thing they'll take.
All of
but
it.
currency also, look, we used to be on a gold standard, and currency just represented gold that was being held in banks.
go with the gold.
Competing currencies before we had a central bank.
That was a disaster. The gold standard, and let's get back to the fiat currency. Gold standard is a disaster. There's not enough gold in the world to support our economy now. The reason why we had
the
such
fact that there's not enough
horrible
gold in the
depressions.
world, that's not you're the gold standard. All right, look, we're jumping on so many issues. I really wanted to get to the thing before, but look, can I get back to the private property and the police thing? Because I
Yes.
just really wanted to answer that.
Okay.
Okay, so I just wanted to say that I 100% think, right, so I do believe in the money coming from government almost aside, I don't think the money should come from government. So I think money should just be like a store of value, the way it has been like developed in different markets to some degree. I think now that we have technology, we could do a lot better. But with the policeman thing, I think absolutely, I think you have a right to defend yourself. Anyone else has, and you have a right to kind of like outsource that right to someone else to defend you. I think me or you have the right to stop someone from stealing from someone else if we see it happening.
All right. So I fortunately have had this massive success with this podcast. I have gone out and I have purchased a tactical team of paramilitary. We have big guns. We're going to take your bike, and don't call that entity.
He did rock. He punched me out of the room in the other scene. Now he's going to kick me off screen for this one. So he's gonna jump twice, and then I'm gonna like lift my head up, and he's gonna like drop kick me. So he will get there. He will get there. But he already rocket punched me out of the room for the other scene. This scene he's gonna kick me, so I'm gonna get progressively more hurt because it's a giant gorilla
that has the monopoly of force, because that's immoral for them to impose their monopoly of force upon me. This is the way I got the money, I got the power, I got the guys with the guns. Freedom, baby. I want that bike.
Okay, so right, like the idea that that's kind of like I think the vacuum argument more or less, right? Like if the government's gone, someone else can kind of build up the power and come in.
No, of
and
course. I
think
mean,
that's
you can watch it on Game of Thrones.
I don't watch the show, but I think I kind of got the reference.
Okay.
Look, I think that that is a big issue. That look, the idea of like a private initiation of force is every bit as bad as government initiation of force in my concern. Like, there's private criminals, private rapists, all that. I do think that would be a big issue, and that's like the biggest challenge of anarchism, to kind of work out how we still defend ourselves, how we still make sure no other government comes up. But look, if you're talking about kind of like our criminal justice system could not be, I shouldn't say it couldn't be worse, but it's pretty disastrous. I mean, we imprison more of our people than any other country in the world.
Agreed.
We have I'm sorry?
Agreed.
Right, so I'm just saying, like, you paint, it's like as compared to what? As compared to having one centralized monopoly with all the weapons in the world? Do you think there's any chance that the world could be this weaponized if it wasn't for the American government? I mean, if it wasn't for the ability that you're willing to kind of give to this group. Now, I understand it went in a corrupt direction that you don't want it to go in with the military. But once you give this government the ability to do that, I mean, we've armed the entire world more than any other force in the history of the world. So I just don't see the government as solving this problem.
You do realize that it's private manufacturers of weapons that have done this. I mean,
well,
that
okay,
we have
through government funding. There's no way that would have been supported
they
without
sell
a
it
big
to
military
other
industrial
countries.
complex.
They sell it to other countries.
Oh, I'm sorry. Say that again. So private companies selling to other countries?
Yes.
Okay, yes, but those are still companies, right? I mean, again, these are companies that were kind of built up by American taxpayer money, and now they're selling to other foreign governments. Okay, fine. Look, maybe someone could still do that without the government funding in the free market. But how about just what our military is given to all these other countries? I mean, how about just the weaponry that the government sends to all these people?
Wait a second.
We're fighting was on
there's no government factories making a tank. There's no government factories making a fighter
but I'm
jet.
pretty sure the government, like in World War II, came in and converted factories that were not making tanks into making tanks.
Well, that's true. I
So
guess
it's not that there's no government,
right.
influence in
Right.
that. When the government wasn't at war, it's not like they were just sitting there like, hey, instead of making cars that people want to buy, let's just build tanks so we can take over the world.
Right.
I mean, it's much more.
Would you not have? Would you
unplausible? But I don't think
would
that's
you
the word.
not have had America get involved in World War II? I mean, I don't want to get into an argument about it. I'm just curious.
Well, look, I mean, I am a Jewish grandson of a Holocaust survivor, so I certainly am no fan of, some of the regimes that we were fighting in World War II.
Well, no, of course not.
My take on it, honestly, is that we never should have been in World War I. The Treaty of Versailles was a disaster, and that's what caused it was kind of inevitable at that point that something had to happen. But look, the winners of wars write
Wait a
history
second.
books.
This is a simple question, buddy. Listen,
let me just say this one thing. The winners of wars write history books. We partnered up with a guy in Stalin that killed way more people than Hitler did and then gave him half of Europe. And then that also led to a guy, Mao, who killed more people than all of them. So it's not just this easy piece of cake. Obviously, we should have fought that war. We did a great job.
All right, well, look, I'm not saying anything is easy or a piece of cake. I'm just curious as to what your opinion was. And it sounds like you would have entered that war. And if you're going to enter that war, I mean, how are you going to do it? Right? I mean, if the answer is... I mean, if you're going to enter that war, I mean, I personally think that, we committed war atrocities in dropping those weapons in Japan.
Absolutely, we did. We nuked cities.
Yes.
We sit here and morally, we sit on
I
our high
understand.
horse about the possibility that Iran could maybe have a nuclear weapon. We're the only ones who have ever used them. And that's nothing compared to what we did to, Tokyo and Berlin. And, we targeted citizens.
Yeah, I mean, I listen. You and I agree on this stuff. The fact is, though, is that, and yes, in Dresden as well. The fact is that I think we both would have entered that war, and perhaps there was a way. I certainly think there was a way to do some things more humanely. But at the end of the day, if you're going to enter into that war, you're going to marshal all the resources you can to win, I think, and so I think we're probably in the same place there. I think, but let's. I want to get back on track. We just have a little bit more time because we've gone a little bit longer than we generally do. But this has been
it's this chemistry we got, Sam. We can't fight it.
Indeed. Let's talk a little bit about this fiat currency. You're aware, right, that when a currency is tied to a fixed asset, a finite asset, and it could be gold, it could be I don't know, flowers. It doesn't matter. I mean,
that's right. Isn't that what it started as, right? In Ireland or something like that?
Well,
I think they used to use,
tulips
rose
in
petals.
Denmark, I think it was, or Holland, I think it was, and tulips in Holland. But all right, let's assume the problem that we had when we were on the gold standard, and the reason why we got off the gold standard, and the reason why countries get off the gold standard when they have to fight a war, is because it limits the ability of your economy to expand. A, and B, it also limits the ability of a country to respond to the sort of the business cycle, and why you had much more severe recessions and depressions when we were on the gold standard. And because you
So to me, and by the way, I don't know that we're actually off the gold standard. I believe the window has been temporarily closed, is what Richard Nixon said.
Well, that's right.
So
I guess
it's just been since '72.
We're on the same type of sabbatical I am from law school. Let's put it that way.
Well, so look, to me, with the Bretton Woods Agreement after World War II, we made an agreement to the world that they would peg their currency to us and we would honor it at $35 an ounce. And then we cheated like crazy in the 50s and 60s, printed way more money than we had gold to back it up. Our foreign investors were onto us, and they came in to collect what they kind of had coming to them, and we said no and gave them the middle finger. I mean, I've heard you say before on your program when we were talking about default, that America's never defaulted in its history, but to me that's a pretty big default. That's that we default on that right there. And to me, look, I want to address the question of a growing economy, too, because, yes, you're right. It does limit how fast an economy can grow, but that's also why we built up such a huge bubble, afterward. It also limits how much of an unsustainable boom you can have. That always leads to a bust. The problem with fiat currency to me is like, look, when we talk about the bailouts and people talk about TARP or that's nothing. The Federal Reserve put, what was it? I mean, you know this stuff. What is it, $15 trillion into the economy after the crash in 2007, 2008? I mean, a big part of the reason why there's this huge inequality growing in America that liberals seem very concerned with is because of our monetary policy. Now we just flood money into these financial institutions. I mean, they have no more, that's their game now, is just literally taking money from the Fed
I certainly would have. I certainly would have preferred that money going directly to homeowners and to the banks. There's no doubt about that.
But don't you acknowledge that didn't just happen to go that way? It's like the Goldman Sachs owns this government. Like the one who you want to be the referee is owned by the guys who you want them to referee.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely see that as a problem. I definitely see that as a problem. But that doesn't mean that I don't want there to be a government.
There's nothing worse than when like I throw something out like real passionately and you just go, no, I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, there's only one or two choices here. It's either you fight back through regulation, through politics, to decrease the power that the owners and capital has over our government, or you get rid of government and just give all the power to those bad actors who are using the government to achieve what they want. Those are the two options.
The government is an additional source of power. So you would just be taking away one more source of power.
No, they're a vessel. They're a vessel.
The stuff that Bernie Sanders is running on, the idea of breaking up the big banks, the free market would have broke up these big banks a long time ago. I mean, these banks would never exist if they didn't have all this government support.
Well, no, these banks wouldn't have existed if they hadn't been deregulated and allowed to get that big.
Okay, look, I think we both know this to be a fact. When it comes to the deregulation, overregulation argument, and I know your argument is deregulation led to the crash of 07, 08, which is a lot of people make that argument. Look, the lobbyists who represent these big financial institutions, and I know you know this, I've heard you say this on your show before, they will lobby for regulation or against regulation wherever it helps them. So if one regulation helps them, they'll lobby for that. If getting rid of it helps them, they'll lobby for that. I'm not saying that they don't do that at every turn. They don't try to get rid of these things like whatever Glass-Steagall or the stuff they got rid of under Clinton. I'm not saying they don't want to do these things for obviously their own benefit. But the system that we have in place is a centralized bank with a chairman appointed by the president who can extend trillions of dollars into these private banks whenever they want to. They're then bailed out by the bank. They're incredibly regulated. I mean, that you have to acknowledge it's still one of the most regulated fields in the economy. So to just say it's like, oh, it's this deregulated free market system, I mean, it's not any free market system that I would want to be a part of.
Well, I mean, look, I suppose you could have no FDIC as well, and then, you would have genuine suffering from people. But, for me, these aren't...
But we have suffering from people too. Look, but there's also a big problem. One of the big problems with the FDIC is that it takes away one of the only things Americans are still really good at, which is consumer research. Like, we actually are the best shoppers still in the world, and we check out, Yelp and reviews. And now people just have no worry about putting their money in these crazy financial institutions because it's all just like, it's government money, you're going to get it back. I'm not saying look, a little bit of suffering of one crazy bank making bad banks and then losing their people's money, it's kind of hard to say. I'm not saying I want those people to suffer, but sometimes one bank doing that will make all the other banks go, okay, we can't risk these crazy assets, these crazy gambles.
I mean, I don't know that that's, I mean, there was a reason why we instituted the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, and it was because we learned the lesson that not having it was a greater disaster. The reason it's I get what you're saying. Where we have these policies because we learned a lesson or something like that. But if you go back, the reason we have these policies is because lobbyists in the banking industry lobbied for them. No, I don't think that's the case. I mean,
have you ever read All the President's Bankers?
Yes, I interviewed.
It was a great book. I'm just saying, the industry, when regulation comes over an industry, you can almost go, I'm not saying always or whatever, but the vast majority of the time, you can go historically to the record book and find the lobbyists in that industry who were lobbying for it.
Of course, there's lobbyists on both sides of every decision. I get it. There's lobbyists on both sides of every decision. But just because there's lobbyists on both sides of every decision doesn't mean that both...
I'm just making the point. Here's the point I'm trying to make, and maybe not making it that well. I'm just saying when you give the government kind of the benefit of the doubt, like they're doing this because they learned this lesson. It's kind of like when there's like a pot law and people go like,
why do you
oh,
keep
they're doing
referring
this
to
because
the
they think
government
it's bad for
as
you.
if it's this entity that has nothing to do with the body politic? I mean, do you really
what entity?
Yeah, I mean, you refer to the government as if it has nothing to do with the facts on the ground at all. Like, you don't think that there was, you don't, I mean,
do you mean?
When I say we learned about what happens when you don't have any federal insurance for banks, it's not that there was a bureaucrat who said, hey, you know, we should do this because I'm getting lobbied. It's because there were literally millions of people who were immediately destitute.
Yes. No, look, I know that the Great Depression was a disaster, and it's not a surprise to me that after creating a Federal Reserve, fighting a world war, having the Roaring '20s, building up this boom, that we had a disaster. I'm not denying that, but I'm just saying that there's big problems with the government coming in this way. So I'm not, you know.
All right. Well, listen. I think we've hit our limit for the day. But I will let you have a summation. But before I do, let me just say that
I want your guys' thoughts on something after this is done.
To,
it's almost done.
To Google, let's see, recessions, deflation, gold standard, and take a look at some of the charts. It give you a sense of just how deep the recessions were, how painful, and understand that when you see those red lines or going below or however that chart shows up, when you see those negative numbers, understand that associated with those numbers is real human misery, so that you can contextualize, and you will see that since we basically went off of the gold standard, we have more ability. And I don't always like the decisions of what the Fed does, and I'd like to see more transparency. But we have more ability to deal with recessions, both from a fiscal side and a monetary policy side. But let me do O'Reilly and say you get the last word.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Look, let me just say, first of all, just out of the context of this debate, that I really appreciate you bringing me on. And I like I said to you off air, I really do love the show. And one of my biggest criticisms of kind of the modern, like, liberal people that I talk to is that their criticism of like, libertarianism is like, are you serious? That's so offensive.
Well,
and just like walk away, like there's
the subtext
that
of what I'm
doesn't like
saying.
debate, and I really admire that you embrace debate and like to go like kind of chapter and verse. So
I appreciate that. It is the subtext of what I'm saying, but go ahead.
So look, I think. Look, my final point is you talk about the human misery, and that you look at these numbers on a blip, and that's not just numbers, that is real human misery. I agree with you, and I know we agree on the war issue, but man, if you want to talk about the human misery that this government is inflicting, the idea, I know you're saying you don't like that the government does that stuff, but I don't know, man, the idea that we're going to have a government that spends $3.5 trillion, it's going to, this humongous country of 320 million people, we're going to... I don't see how it's not going to turn militaristic and bad. Maybe look for an example of where there's been a government this big, had this much control, where it didn't go terrible. I think we would have, look, in the 20th century, we had 2 major world wars, 250 million people killed by their own governments. We now, in the 21st century, we've already had a huge ramp up in our military-industrial complex. We imprison more people than the rest of the world. The amount of human misery that the government is causing, I think, is far greater than what any free market would cause.
All right. Let me just say one quick, tiny thing.
You lied with the last word.
Yeah, and then you get another one. That is, I can't help myself. That is that, to me, your argument that because our government does bad things, which we both agree are bad, that they cannot do good things. is like, to me, saying that because people do bad things, that people can't do good things.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's not to say that the government can't ever do anything good. I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying nothing good's ever been done by the government, or no one's ever done anything good with a check they got from the government. I mean, that's not my position at all. My position is that if there is an organization that's controlled by a group of people that, hey, let's say, just for, and I'll keep this very brief, but let's say we had our drone policy here in America, and we treated first world like white people the way we treat these people in the Middle East. Let's say that got, so let's say, in Chicago, there were like two suspected criminals in a school, and the police department went, we're going to drone bomb the school and blow them up. Like, the group of people who run that organization, that make that decision, are the same group of people. I'm just saying, if from my perspective, these people are like war criminals who should be strung up on charges and thrown in jail. So I don't think
4.
that,
So there's one more after this.
skeptical
So we're like
of them
more than
having
half
these
done.
kind of do-gooder impulses that I feel like you kind of need them to have to run these benevolent social programs.
Well, those guys, they don't run the Social Security Administration, right? The drone operators don't go across the hall.
No. I'm saying the people. No, I know, dude. I'm saying the people who write the rules, write all those rules. So the Congress, the executive, like, those are the same people who are giving the authority to those drone operators, are giving the authority to, like, the Medicare, whatever expansion.
Yeah,
That's
but
my point.
they also take a poop like you and I do too, and that doesn't necessarily. I mean, if I just think that I can separate the wheat from the chaff, as it were, and even if the chaff. Okay, but I meant to give you the last word. So.
Ooh, the last word. I really hope I just inspired something that you have to get one more word out now. I don't even know. Look, man, you did certainly inspire me to read more on the entitlement stuff that you were making, the argument that you were making about the unfunded liabilities. So I really appreciate that. And
we'll do it again.
I'm done.
We'll do it again. Thanks so much. I appreciate
All right,
it.
thanks, Sam. Have a good one.
Folks, the podcast is part of the problem. We'll put a link to it at majority.fm. Dave, again, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Sam.
That was actually a decent conversation. It wasn't as bad as I thought it'd be. The guy made some good points. He's like, I don't like the idea that I can be jailed for not paying my taxes because, the shitty things that the government does with the taxes. I get that. But like, what do you, like, I don't, like, what's the alternative? Like, I feel like we need to, vote for our representatives to, like, actually represent us. And then, hopefully, like, the taxes will go to us instead of, like, all these corporations. So I think it goes down to voting. It's like, we gotta, vote for the people like Sanders that say, we gotta represent us and, bail out us and, so. Let's see. Jack Zinder, what's up, man? Did Sam Cedar say they take a poop? Yeah, they take a poop like us, which is true. So I have something for us to think about, and I want your guys' opinion. Let me change the scene. Okay, I'm going to change a little bit, but I had something set up here, and I showed a few people in the beginning of the stream. So this is what I did. So I did this for Twitch, and you can change anything. Sorry, you're gonna hear a little beeping, so don't be alarmed, Lila, if you're still there. So I save this. Let me see, test. So I can do that. I can do an image with text ahead of it or in front of it. I could do this, a little icon followed by the following. So this is pretty much something that, since I'm an affiliate now on Twitch, I can mess around with. Let me see. So I just want your guys' opinion because I need to do one for follows. So we're gonna have a little animation for followers, and we're gonna have another animation for subscribers that end up subscribing or whatever. So I'm curious as like, what do you guys want to see from that? What animation should I do for a follower? What animation should I do for a subscriber, etc., etc. So I was thinking of doing the Ted Cruz me for followers, subscribers. Maybe the Ted Cruz for subscribers, because like followers like reoccurring, and subscribers wouldn't happen as often. But I think it'd be kind of funny to see the Ted Cruz thing for subscribers, because the Ted Cruz thing, I think it'll get old if you keep doing followers and followers. The followers thing has to be something, I guess, that I don't want to be too old, you know. I don't know. Maybe for the like a donation, I could do like a seltzer sellout. Ooh, for the follower, I could do, since my name's ADrew, or my nickname is ADrew. People mess it up. People are like, ADrew. I'm thinking like doing ADrew with like, I could do, instead of the beep, the rum, whatever, the chime, I could do like any audio. I could do the A, and I have like my character do this or something, with sunglasses or something, because it's ADrew. Get it? So maybe I'll do that for followers. And then maybe for Ted Cruz, I'll do for subscribers, I'll do Ted Cruz. Or I could do like a seltzer sellout. I don't know. There's so many options. But I think I'll work on that this weekend, maybe. And then like maybe Monday we'll start doing this on Twitch. And doing Twitch more often, because we could do fun stuff like that. We could work on emotes together. We can do all that kind of stuff. So we'll have to see. Oh my god. Good. But just want your guys' opinion on what I should do for that. I think I'll do that. Yeah, maybe I could do, instead of Ted Cruz, maybe I could do like, maybe I could have him like, to scream me, do something like that. Use my character with like a different shirt, change the color. I love the it's like open to me. I can do whatever I want, because I can upload. So I can upload a GIF. I can also change the message, so I could be like, name is now following, or I could do like, whatever, Murdoch is now part of the ADrew crew, something not as cheesy as that, but you know what I mean. I can change that. I can change the image. Instead of a zombie, I can change media. I can literally like upload it. There's just so many things I can do. I can add audio to it. Hold on. Alert box. Follows. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I can add sound to it. The volume sound. I could change the font. There's so many cool things I can do. That I couldn't do on YouTube. So that's why I'm kind of thinking of like doing this, taking this to Twitch, like, not like 100%. I don't want to drop YouTube completely, or YouTube Live anyway. But there's just so many more cool stuff I can do here that I can't do on YouTube. So we'll see. But that's pretty much what I thought. I wanted to express it with you guys. Imagine you have your meetup. Yeah, maybe I could do like that. They have an option here for bits. Maybe I could do it for bits or raids or whatever. We'll see. For a donation, seltzer bottle throwing money at your character. Yeah, I could do like a really cool like seltzer sellout, and like have the seltzer bottle like shining and stuff like that. It's just anything, man. It's so open. But I think we'll definitely do. I think we have to do a follower one, and we have to do a subscribe one, and then bits and like raids and all that, and we can figure that. I guess donations, if like people wanna donate. We'll see. I don't know. It's really cool that I can do all this stuff now. I'm pretty excited about it. Because originally you couldn't do this on Mac. On the software I have, OBS, you couldn't do this on Mac. You had to have a PC, but like with Mac, there's like a way you can get around with it with a plugin. So I was able to figure it out today, and I did that cool alert. So yeah, that's pretty much my thought process about it. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Imagine you have your meat out. I need Corin to say it with a better mic though. His mic is better now. I would need to like re-record that audio because it's not that good. But yeah, we'll see. It's already 12 o'clock already. Shit. Let's see. What did we get done here? Okay, well, let's fix this, and I think we'll call it a stream, guys. It's already like, it's already midnight by me. I have a few things to I have a few things to do before bed. Let's put on some music. Go back to the old days. Let me switch the view. There we go. I'm over here. He's telling Eric. Yeah, he's using his mic to loudly tell everyone that his mic is better, which is kind of funny and ironic. Let's see. Just fix a few things. Ew. It looks weird too. I love this song so much. It's so fucking good. Cal says about you. Maybe. Or maybe a notification could be. See, what's funny is like I know a lot of streamers they have donation tiers. So if you donate like $5, like there's a special animation that happens only for that. There's a dude that has like something where like if you donate $7.77, a Final Fantasy like 3D model of him like twirling the sword around and like put it in the back. Like it's really cool looking, but it only happens when when someone donates $7.77. So I could do something like that, but like I think for now we have to focus on the follower and subscriber one, because I think followers would be important. Because before I couldn't even see followers, I'd have to like go back and be like, oh, these people follow me. But like it'd be cool like during the stream, you're like, oh, this person followed. Like I can shout them out. Like I think it'd be really fun. It's really cool. I like Twitch for that reason. No another yeah, because it's overshadowed by the second one. The second one is a superior game and a superior soundtrack. It's just true. Hassan Pikers are Alex Jones. Oh, they're all Alex Jones? Like follower, subscriber, and all that? I don't know if I'd want to do Kyle's voice. I think I'd want to do something that plays with like my identity, like my brand, kind of. But like we would probably do like seltzer stuff, maybe like the Tech Cruise one has to be in there. We'll see. Yeah, Cloud's victory match, like and he like twirls it and like it, but it's him. Like he's portrayed as Cloud. he has like the outfit and everything. Dude has like long hair and stuff. Maximilian, if you guys ever, Maximilian dude, he's a fighting game streamer, so I watch him a lot because I enjoy my fighting games. So we'll see. I guess like things that you guys are familiar with and things that are relate to me as well. We'll see. All of his Hans are Alex Jones. I have to check that out. That's pretty fucking epic. I can't listen to that dude's voice for like more than a second. I get fucking anxious. Let's see. Alright, okay, so here's DK. So here he jumps. Here he's gonna jump. Over here. Oh, how did I... Okay. I think we want him to go higher, but I think I like that impact better. I do like that impact better. This is gonna be so much fun. I love this one. Kev the King, what's up, man? They turned the freaking frogs. Like, oh yeah, you have to have that one. Dude, I can't stand his Alex Jones's voice, but the idea of having him as a frog and then progressively turning gay because he drank some of Kyle's water, like, it's just something I need to create for the world. Like, I don't care if it sucks, I don't care if it's not funny, I just need to create it, and I just need to put that idea out there. I need to see a frog with Alex Jones's like hair, with his voice, progressively turning gay, like just getting lipstick, getting like, like makeup on his face, like getting a tutu around himself, a gay pride parade or something, like, or just like having him wear those Speedos or something, like it's just start dancing like a gay frog, like, oh my god, dude. It's so good. It's so good. But at the same time, I want to do the Sam Seether Libertarianator one. Like, so many ideas. And then I want to do the my idea was to do the Dem debate, where he moderates like a debate with Democrats. Like, I want to do that first, but it's just, there's so many good ones. So many good ones. Luckily, we're almost done with this one, so we can like jump back into shit. My head can't take all these high level ideas. a rave Dubin episode would also be kind of funny too, but I don't know. Let me see if I can fix this one. Oh, it might be better. He does work at the Blaze, so I could be like, I could do like a Glenn Beck crossover one. Ugh, sounds horrible, but if the people want it. Music so good, so good. Now let's see how this I think this impact will be better now. Nice. Okay. So I think all we have left to do here left to do here, we have to do his reaction. Like on the couch when, you know, everything's shaking. And then we have to get him up and he'll kick him off the couch. So we're almost done with the scene. Almost done. But I think we'll end it here, guys. I don't know if I'll stream tomorrow or today because it's past midnight on Friday. Maybe we'll do like a fun game stream on tomorrow. I'm not sure. It's either that or maybe a Sunday one. We'll see. If not, we'll definitely be back Monday. But, you know, keep track with the social medias and all that stuff. The Twitch notifications and all that. But yeah. I feel bad because there's a bunch of new people here. And Kev the King just got here. But yeah, we've been doing this for a while. So we'll be back. Stick around, guys. Thank you again so much for hanging out. And I'll see you guys soon. Peace.